at 225-206-1517.
If you've been injured, it doesn't matter if you were hit by a big truck, a smart car, or anything in between. I'm Spencer Callahan. I'd like to help.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA 21-12671. Offices in Baton Rouge.
WNXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers. LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge.
Let we go!
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Jacob Hester and T-Bob Hebert.
Yeah!
Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob.
Hey, they said I got to come off the bench.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob. Yo, yo, yo.
What's up, people? Welcome in to a Tuesday edition of Off the Bench, coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. Mario Jerez here, filling in for T-Bob and Hester. Hester will be back later this week. T-Bob will be back next week. Hope those guys are enjoying themselves and enjoying some time off. We are here with you from 7 to 10 a.m. once again. Casey Gaines is on the audio board in my usual spot while I'm on this side of the room. Taylor Sharp is getting us on YouTube. He'll also contribute a lot on the microphone today. Lots of NFL and college football topics that interest Taylor, so we'll definitely let him give his takes. And please talk to me in the Bayou 4 chat. Loved the interaction yesterday. Had a good viewer count. Had really good interaction throughout the show. We'll have some interactive segments today, including OTB mailbag, so please continue to tune in, like the show, and please interact with your boy here. Coming up on the show, we have a really fun program here today. We will talk LSU football for the majority of the first hour. And at 7:30, we'll welcome on our first guest. It is Preston Guy. He is a writer for TigerBait.com, covers LSU football and recruiting. I've interacted kind of with Preston a lot on Twitter over the years. He has a large following. He seems to be really knowledgeable about LSU football. Clearly, he loves LSU football, but I've never formally talked to him. So I'm looking forward to that conversation today. LSU has a lot going on in recruiting right now, the football team, I mean. So looking forward to the convo with Preston. We'll also have our OTB mailbag, as I mentioned, coming up at 8:15. You could ask us anything about sports, about football, about life. We'll answer those questions for you in the second hour. And then at 9 a.m., we'll talk to Nick Underhill of New Orleans.football. The Saints continue training camp, and Nick has brought a small army out to the practices with them. He has a lot going on at New Orleans.football right now. So as always, looking forward to the conversation with our man Nick. But let's start the show how we do every single program and go around the room, see how everybody's doing. Casey, as I've been saying, appreciate you holding down my spot. You always do a good job. Enjoyed the music yesterday. How you doing this morning?
I'm feeling a little bit tired today, but still doing good nonetheless.
Good.
Nice little drive from Central this morning.
Nice. Shout out to my people in Central. Hopefully you get used to the morning routine for the rest of the week here. Very appreciative of Casey for coming out. Taylor, I know you were enjoying the group chat yesterday. T-Bob sending a throw from Dak Prescott, and the caption of the text message was, "Perfect throw by Dak, right to the defensive back." So I know you enjoyed that one.
Actually, not so much. Despite T-Bob's trolling, doing pretty good this morning. I just wonder if Dak Prescott's going to blame that interception on his receivers as well. He had a league-leading picks last year with like 15 or 16. Apparently, like 90% of them were on his receivers. I apparently did not watch the Cowboys because that's not what I saw. But shout out to Dak. He swears he's going to cut down on his interceptions, but so far in training camp, it's been the opposite. But despite all the negativity, I'm doing good. Blocking out the haters on this Tuesday morning, Mario.
Good. You're used to doing that as a Cowboys fan, huh? Constantly blocking out the haters.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. Taylor excited to watch Dak play this season, as he always is. But thankful to Taylor as well. He's done a great job. And thanks to everybody in the Bayou 4 chat. So we already have some interaction. Shout out to Daniel and Edward O, although Edward O wants us fired apparently. And a shout out to Spencer P and Survive as well. Really appreciate
Edward O actually always wants me fired. That's his little thing. It has to do with me and him as he is a ULL fan.
Oh.
I am not.
Really?
So that's kind of where that comes from.
Edward O.
He may not be a fan. I think he lives in Lafayette though. It's something like that.
Okay, yeah, Edward O. I didn't think he was a raging Cajun, but yeah, I have fun with him in the chat as well. Shout out to Edward O. Part of his name is Nuss Bus Driver, so he's on the Nuss Bus. A lot of people on the Nuss Bus with him. Maybe we'll talk a little Garrett Nussmeier throughout the show, but I did want to start the show talking LSU football and talking about how close we are to the season, because we're even closer now. Yesterday, we did the whole jersey countdown. We were 34 days away. Now we're 33 days away from the season opener against the Seminoles, and we might as well have some fun with numbers again, right? Always enjoy doing this kind of thing. I know a lot of people do it on Twitter, but when I think 33 and I think LSU football, first name that comes to my mind is Jamal Adams, maybe just because it was recent. He had a great career here, still going strong in the NFL, but statistically, one of the great safeties to ever come through LSU. Number 33, Jamal Adams, finished his career with 209 tackles, 17 and a half tackles for loss, 5 picks, 2 sacks, first team All-American, first team All-SEC as a junior, and he led an LSU defense that only allowed 16 touchdowns all season. Now, 2016 didn't finish in the win-loss record how LSU wanted. You know, they fired Les Miles that year, but that was a great defense under Dave Aranda in his first season, man. I remember the Alabama game that season. I believe it was a shutout going into the fourth quarter, and Jamal Adams was kind of the catalyst to that. So only appropriate to salute him and give a shout-out to that 2016 defense as we are 33 days away from the season. Also, Odell Beckham wore 33 as a freshman. I remember his freshman year vaguely. I know he scored a touchdown against West Virginia when it was 3rd and 1. LSU did a play action, fooled the entire stadium, and Odell scores on a breakaway. And T-Bob talks about that play a lot because T-Bob says after Odell Beckham scored that touchdown, he went up to the West Virginia mascot and did like a musket motion, pretending like he was shooting him, like in a celebration. So I enjoyed that story, and I enjoyed watching Odell Beckham from his freshman year. Did you enjoy watching Odell Beckham and or Jamal Adams, Taylor?
Yeah, I did. Believe it or not, Jamal Adams, one of my favorite LSU Tigers of all time. We were talking about this before the show, and you were like, what is that one Jamal Adams moment that sticks out in your mind? He was so good that I don't have one moment that sticks out. I mean, I just remember game after game, he could be that roaming deep free safety if he needed to, but he could come down, make those tackles in the backfield. You mentioned 17 and a half tackles a loss from that safety position. Just incredible all-around player.
Yeah, he was a beast. And there are a couple that stand out in my mind, although they're in losses, and the ones that I'm thinking of right now are both against Alabama, because I remember that 2016 game that we were just talking about. He had an interception on the first drive, and the place was going crazy. I'll never forget kind of the hype going into that game and then how the stadium was after that play. Game didn't go how LSU wanted, but it was a great play nonetheless. And then the year before that, when he was a sophomore, he had a really good run stuff against Alabama on 4th and 1. I think it was Coker kept the ball, and he came from the other side of the field, made an amazing tackle. And like you're saying, man, that was kind of routine for Jamal. So shout out to him. Also had to shout out our guy, Jeremy Hill. Also wore 33. I kind of forgot about him. Shout out to Taylor for reminding me. A lot of 33s. But Hilly was a beast, man. Hilly statistically one of the great running backs of the Les Miles era. And he definitely had some really memorable moments. The one that sticks out for me is the run against South Carolina in 2012. That was the first season I was broadcasting the games in Spanish for LSU football. And LSU was up by 2. It was like middle of the fourth quarter, I believe. And Hilly broke a long run. And I'll never forget, that was the first time that since I started broadcasting the games that I felt the stadium underneath me literally shake. Like, that place was going crazy. The euphoria in that stadium is something I'll never forget. So only appropriate we shout out Jeremy Hill as well. Retired football player, now a retired radio man, but forever a friend of the program. We hope Hilly's doing well.
Yeah, for sure. I've had this conversation with Jeremy. The game I remember, 2013 LSU Florida. It was like 11 a.m., maybe even noon kickoff in Tiger Stadium. Hot as can be. LSU had nothing going on offense. We were playing Treon Harris-led Florida Gators, and it was a defensive battle. But, I mean, Jeremy basically put that entire offense on his back. I believe he had like 125 yards, 2 touchdowns that game. Just very impressive. Mario, I thought of a 33. I told you before the show, and I didn't want to give it away. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're all familiar with the earthquake game. How about one Eddie Fuller, former LSU running back,
Shout
number
out.
33?
Yeah, back of the end zone, Tommy Hodson, the earthquake game. If you're a true LSU fan, you know that name. So that's a really good pull, Taylor. Did you know anybody who was at that game? Like, my parents had friends who were at that game. My parents themselves weren't there, but they said you could feel it. That's definitely a memorable moment in Tiger Stadium history.
I'm trying to remember. My dad tells me a lot about it. I'm trying to remember if he was there or not, though. I'm not 100% sure. I think he was.
All good. That shout out to him as well. Shout out to Hilly, to Jamal Adams, freshman Odell Beckham. 33 days away from LSU versus FSU. Man, that number's getting smaller and smaller. I am getting a little juiced up. Should be a good season for LSU. Hopefully it will be. They're definitely getting a lot of hype, both as a team and individually, and we saw a little bit more of that yesterday as they released the names of the players on the Maxwell Award watch list. And this is the award given to the best player in college football. And LSU had Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors both on the list. And we've been talking about Jaden for a long time. I guess we could start there. I know what he did last year. I know the stats. I know the complimentary words that Brian Kelly has given him coming into this year. But somehow, after months and months of talking about Jaden, it's kind of just hitting me exactly how much hype he's getting, the expectations that he has individually coming into 2023. Because the stats last season, if he builds off of them, he's going to be statistically one of the best quarterbacks in the country, like at any school. Because he set LSU records for rushing yards last year, 885, and rushing touchdowns, 11 in 2022. And what he did last year, not many other players did, because Jaden Daniels was one of only 2 players in the entire country to rush for 800 yards and then throw for 2,500 more. And I know a lot of fans are still critical of his throwing, his attacking at the third level of the field, and maybe that is fair, but this guy put up numbers last year, like historical numbers. 3,798 yards of total offense last year, ranked second only to Joe Burrow in LSU history. So he can definitely make improvement, but he had a spectacular season last year, and he's looking to build off of it. A lot of people think he can. Not just the media, not just his teammates and his coaches, but how about Las Vegas as well? I saw this yesterday, Taylor. Shout out to DraftKings. Jaden Daniels right now is 12-1 to win the Heisman Trophy. He's tied with Quinn Ewers from Texas with the second shortest odds. And to me, this all happened really fast. Like, for him to be the third shortest odds to win the Heisman is a little surprising. Like, I'm trying to think which QBs in recent years had this amount of hype after a really good season early in their career and then kind of flopped. Like, Spencer Rattler comes to mind for sure. I know he had a good finish to last season, but that's what Jaden Daniels is trying to avoid. And the hype is there. The expectations are there. I don't know if he actually takes home this award the way Joe Burrow did in 2019, but definitely high expectations for Jaden Daniels, and not just in Baton Rouge.
No, there are high expectations, and they're warranted. You just broke down the numbers. I mean, look at what he did last year, 800 yards rushing, another 2,500 passing. Came up with some key plays throughout the season. I mean, you probably don't beat Alabama with him. You probably don't beat Florida without him either. So, yeah, it's definitely warranted. Now, there are some stuff he needs to improve on, but certainly a lot you liked last year from Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I mean, the rushing ability is, you can't argue it. Like, I was just watching highlights. They were talking about him on ESPN, and I know Taylor will appreciate this. He's got a little Lamar in him, man. He's got skills that you cannot teach in the open field. And if you can combine that with an improved passing game, which you saw flashes of it last year, it's not like he was horrible, just needs to be a little bit more consistent attacking the deep part of the field. But the man can scoot, and that's exciting if you're an LSU fan. Let's see if he can build off of what he did last year. Malik Neighbors also made this list, also a preseason All-SEC selection. Statistically, was the best receiver on LSU's team last year. The kind of season that people were expecting Kayshon Boutte to have, Malik Neighbors had it, and he led the conference in receptions last year. That caught my attention yesterday. 72 catches, ranked number 2 in the league in receiving yards as a sophomore, and this is a big year for him. He's trying to play himself into being a first-round pick, potentially. He's trying to leave LSU with the championship, like a lot of wide receivers want to do. LSU's had a good run of wide receivers here, and a couple of them have won national championships. I know Neighbors wants to be part of that list. And I'm trying to think if we're maybe sleeping on anybody else. Like, this team has a lot of really good receivers, but similar to how we were just talking about with Jaden Daniels, he's caught the attention of college football fans, not just here, but nationwide. And he's a name that people are watching, not just in Baton Rouge, but people that are interested in the NFL as well, because he's building himself into being a pretty heralded prospect. This is a big year for Malik Neighbors, and clearly the expectations are there for him too.
Yeah, they are. And as far as you were saying, are we sleeping on any other receivers? Kyron Lacey and Brian Thomas are going to be 2 key pieces to this team. Excited to watch both of them. But look, to your point, he led the SEC in receptions. That was a surprising stat for me as well yesterday when I was looking at this. And it's always good to have your guy back. Malik Neighbors was 100% Jaden Daniels' go-to guy last year. They are both back. I don't see why they can't build on each of them's production this year and have a really nice season.
I'm with you. Shout out to the Bayou Ford chat, getting a lot of good interaction. Spencer P. talking about Daniels says, I'll be happy if he is as good as last year and everybody else just steps up. QB play is way less of a linear trajectory than other positions, and no guarantee teams won't game plan better for him. That's fair. And to your point there, Spencer P., I think the rest of the team will be a lot better I mean, Jaden Daniels was playing last year with a good receiving core. I'll give him that. Neighbors, even with Boutte underachieving the way he did, the receiving core was there. But the O-line, while it was really good at times, I think is going to be a lot better this year. Like the freshman tackles, Emery and Campbell both really showed out as freshmen. But imagine now with a year under their belt and having chemistry with Jaden Daniels, not just post-snap, but pre-snap as well. I think the rest of the team will be better, and hopefully that's good for Jaden Daniels. One more name I wanted to talk about before we moved on here, since we're talking, LSU and quarterbacks and the pass catchers, is Mason Taylor. Mason Taylor last year finished with 414 yards on 38 catches, 3 touchdowns, an average of 10.9 yards per reception. But to me, it's interesting. The last 2 games, LSU seemed to feature him a little bit more. He didn't hit 50 yards receiving the entire regular season. Matter of fact, the game against Alabama, when he had a touchdown and a game-winning 2-point conversion, he only had 3 catches that game. So 2 touchdowns on 3 catches against Alabama. That's prime efficiency. But the volume went up a little bit towards the end of the year. He had 6 catches for 63 yards against Georgia in the SEC title game. And then in the bowl game against Purdue, 5 catches for 88 yards. This is somebody who's clearly a really good receiving tight end. I think he's a solid blocker, while he can definitely improve in that area. But Mason Taylor had a really good freshman season. And by the end of it, I think he could be one of the best tight ends to ever come through LSU. And that's somebody who's going to be counted on big time again this season for Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, he is. And I think he might be the key to this whole offense this year. You mentioned as the season went along, he got more comfortable. A lot of people don't remember this because he seemed like he was so ready to play as a freshman. He came in fall camp. He was not there in the spring as a freshman. He was not an early enrollee. He kind of had to pick up everything on the fly, which is why the back half of last year, he was a lot more comfortable than the first half. And this offensive line is a lot better. You mentioned his blocking. He's not going to have to block as much. He's going to be on a pass route. Every time Daniels drops back, he's going to have better protection. He's not going to have to chip that defensive end like he did. And the tight end room should be a little bit deeper to take some pressure off of him.
Brennan Huff in the chat says the offense is loaded. There is no weakness. I don't know. It's yet to be seen, man. We'll see what happens. Injuries happen. Other teams will be improved as well. But just on paper, things look really good. I mean, you have a quarterback who has the 3rd shortest odds to win the Heisman. You have a really deep receiving core. You have 2 guys on the Maxwell Award watch list. For the best player in college football. Like, yeah, on paper, things look really good, but we can make it, we can see how it looks on the field now in just 33 days. But expectations definitely there for LSU, not just in Baton Rouge, but across the country. That'll do it pretty much for this segment. We'll come back and talk a little bit more LSU football. They'll look towards the future. As we said, LSU has a lot going on in recruiting right now. We'll talk to Preston Guy of Tiger Bait coming up at 7:30. But in the next segment, we'll recap some big recruiting news for Brian Kelly and company. That's coming up next. Mario Jerez here alongside Casey Gaines and Taylor Sharp. This is Off the Bench on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria, and 1130 The Tiger.
Get that winning feeling from the gridiron to the diamond and beyond with the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Check it out, y'all. With money lines, props, parlays, and more, you bet your favorite sports and take shots at massive wins. And right now, new customers have an incredible deal. Use the promo code Baton Rouge to sign up. All one word, Baton Rouge. You get $150 in bonus bets instantly for betting $5 on anything. How about that? Remember, if you're a returning customer, you can always take your winnings to the next level with the DraftKings same-game parlays, okay? So open up the app, place your parlay, combine a bunch of bets, get that bigger payout. What are you waiting for? Promo code Baton Rouge, bet $5 on anything, $150 in bonus bets instantly. Must be 21 or older, officially present in Louisiana, select parishes only. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/baseball terms. Licensee partner, Golden Nugget Lake Charles. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-426-2537.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m.
Charles Hanniger joins us for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch. We're at Mike Anderson Seafood, Wesley at Nicholson. Andy Isco will be with us, plus another update from Saints Camp. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria, and 1130 The Tiger.
What's up, people? Mario Jerez filling in for T-Bob and Hester. Brian Kelly adding to his band, and he definitely knows their names. LSU football is on the recruiting trail hard as always, and LSU got some more good news yesterday, and it concerns the offensive line again. LSU's been aggressive at that position, and yesterday, 3-star interior O-lineman Joseph Cryer, a.k.a. Big Hoss. Curious how he got that nickname, but I'll give it to him here, I guess. Cryer commits to LSU yesterday, the day after LSU landed 3-star tackle Ori Williams, and we'll talk about Williams momentarily, but Cryer did commit yesterday, and he is from Natchitoches, Louisiana native. He picked up an LSU scholarship last week. The team offered him last week, and when they did, he was already committed to Ole Miss, at least verbally. So he backed off of that as soon as he got the offer from LSU, and he made the commitment on social media. And I really like the social media post that we saw from Joseph Cryer. He posted the picture, the graphic of him committing present day. And then next to it, if you're not watching on YouTube, you can't see the picture. I'll do my best to describe it. It's Cryer as a baby. Looks like a pretty big baby. And he's holding an LSU purple and gold football. That's really wholesome. That has to be a full circle moment for Cryer. Growing up a Louisiana native, apparently being an LSU fan. LSU tradition runs deep. Like my parents, if you don't know the story, they came from Guatemala to Louisiana to attend LSU. And they just fell in love with LSU football. Like, it's a huge part of the culture here. I grew up with that, and Joseph Cryer grew up with that. So he has to be really happy that he got that scholarship offer, and I'm sure he would have did fine at Ole Miss, but hasn't mean a lot to him to get that scholarship offer, especially seeing that picture and seeing how long he's been rocking with LSU. So that was a positive development for LSU. Like I said, they've been aggressive recruiting that position. Cryer becomes the 4th O lineman in the class, so LSU already has commitments from him, Kyrie Lee, Ethan Callaway, and now Cryer. So positive development for Brad Davis and Brian Kelly and company.
Yeah, shout out to him. Very big baby in that picture. I'd be willing to bet that's probably how he got the nickname Big Hoss. Look, great player, real lean at his size. Ori Williams is as well. Williams 6'7", 300 pounds. Cryer right at about 295, 298. So real lean, not a lot of baby fat on those guys. They're going to come in. They're going to have a very soft learning curve, if you will. They should be ready to contribute here pretty quickly. I know Brad Davis is going to work his magic on those guys, just continuing to add depth to the offensive line. Because if you look at the O-line, a lot of people are like, well, that's a cause of concern. It is, but there's a lot of young talent on that O-line. I mean, we had 2 true freshman tackles last year starting. They're back. They're a year early. Garrett Dellinger's still a young guy. You bring in these 2 young guys. Bordelon's on the team. He redshirted last year as a freshman. So the future of the offensive line looking very, very bright.
Yeah, especially compared to the last few years, man. Like you were thin along the offensive line towards the end of the Ed O era and the start of the Brian Kelly era. The numbers are a lot healthier there. And I see some people in the chat like Emil question the depth, which is fair. But in my head, if they got through last year and now you have a more mature Jaden Daniels who will continue to be able to avoid the pass rush with his feet, you're in a good spot there. Hopefully LSU can navigate things there if some injuries do occur. But the present-day O-linemen, the guys that are slated to start, have had success in the conference, and now you have some big-name recruits coming in, including Ori Williams and Cryer for Coach Brad Davis. And speaking of Brad Davis, I just want to say I'm really happy for that guy. Like, it's been kind of a crazy road for him, but years later, he's found himself in a really good spot in a place that he's kind of alluded to as being his dream job because he's from Baton Rouge. He didn't play at LSU. He played at Oklahoma. He was part of the national championship team back in 2000, but, he's from here, and he wanted the job. He wanted the job because if you remember how he got the job, LSU poached him from Arkansas. He was on Sam Pittman's staff. He statistically, honestly, wasn't doing a very good job there, but that is a solid job, and it speaks volumes when, you leave there, not in the middle of the season, but shortly before the season to join LSU. And if you remember kind of how Brad Davis got started here, it was only because James Craig got fired. And James Craig did good work. He was the O-line coach in 2019 during the championship year, but he got fired, and it was in a sketchy manner. There was a lot of rumors about exactly what happened, but apparently he had contact with the recruit that he was not supposed to have. LSU's forced to let him go, and then they bring in Brad Davis from Arkansas, and it was a scary time for that coaching staff, for Coach O's coaching staff. Like, those guys didn't know if they were going to keep their job, and they let go of some beloved coaches here. I mean, Tommy Moffitt was a strength coach for the longest time. Corey Raymond was called the godfather of DBU, had coached up the defensive backs for a long time. Those guys were let go. Everybody was let go except for Brad Davis. And he's done really good work for Brian Kelly. And even before Brian Kelly came in, I will always give Brad Davis a lot of credit for coaching that Texas Bowl for LSU. Who are they? Kansas State, right? Against Kansas State. And I will never forget Brad Davis coaching that game. LSU didn't have to play that game, but just as a fan, and some of you may disagree, like I remember some of my friends were saying, why are they playing this game? You're risking injury. I really like the fact that LSU played that football game and finished the season. Although it was a losing record at the end of the day, they still played the game. There were programs like Texas A&M and others that were in a similar situation and ducked out of playing the bowl game, but I was glad that LSU played, and I was glad that Brad Davis coached that game. Baton Rouge native, got to be acting head coach. He took a lot of pride in that, and he should take a lot of pride in the work he's doing now with his offensive line here at LSU. Really good job with the 2 freshman tackles, like we mentioned, and now LSU doing work on the recruiting trail. So it's been kind of a cool story for Brad Davis. Got to be happy for him.
Yeah, you do. Like you mentioned, whenever you fire a coach, suddenly you got to bring in a guy, kind of throw him into the fire, if you will, and then he has to coach that bowl game. And look, I'm sure a lot of people, if you ask them privately, did not want to coach that bowl game because you knew it wasn't going to go very well. But look, Baton Rouge native, he stepped up, he did his job, and LSU performed probably a little bit better than most people probably thought they would, especially with a Jontre Kirkland at quarterback. But, shout out Brad Davis, just a true LSU Tiger.
Jontre Kirkland, too. We some fighting Tigers. I'll never forget that speech. Those were dark times for LSU that have now turned into better times. So positive development if you're a Tiger fan. We'll keep the LSU football conversation going. On the other side of this break, we will welcome on our first guest. He is Preston Guy, staff writer covering LSU football for TigerBait.com. First time he's coming on OTB. Looking forward to the conversation with Preston. That's coming up on the other side. This is Off the Bench, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luber for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Join me for a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Glenn West on the Tigers. They get ready to report for camp in Sharif Ishaq from Saints Camp. on Palmer Show 1 to 3 weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
A staff writer covering LSU football and recruiting at tigerbait.com. He used to write for The Advocate of Baton Rouge as well, and he's a fellow graduate of the Manship School. Shout out to the Manship School. Preston, appreciate you replying to my text. Appreciate you coming on today. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing good, Mario. Nice to finally talk to you in person.
Yes, sir. I know you have a large following on Twitter, and we've definitely interacted over the years talking some LSU football, so we're definitely excited to talk to you as well. That being said, let's get right into it, man. I know you cover a lot between recruiting, what's going on during the season, when the season does start, but we're now only 33 days away from the season. This is an exciting time to be in Baton Rouge if you're an LSU fan. If you're covering the team, these are exciting times as well. How would you describe your excitement for the 2023 season?
Well, the way I can best put it, I wrote a column after the spring game, and it seems like for this team this season, 10-2 feels less like the floor and more like a disappointing season the more I watch this team. And you saw that at SEC Media Days with just how much love LSU got. I mean, you had, 3 guys, all SEC on offense, first team. I think it was 11 guys overall with all SEC selection. You had the first team all SEC quarterback, which I don't know that that's ever happened. Maybe y'all have talked to y'all. I couldn't find another time that happened. If it did, it was before my time covering and watching the team, because I went back and looked. No Jamarcus Russell, no Matt Mock. Wasn't Mettenberger, because, all those guys, peaked at the end of their career. So it is a very exciting time, and this Bayou Splash this weekend was a very exciting weekend for LSU, where you had the number 1 recruit in the country from 2025 on your campus. He's a quarterback, by the way, so it's a big deal to get him on campus. Bryce Underwood, Colin Simmons, Caden Durham, a lot of big-name guys on campus this weekend. So Brian Kelly's got a lot of positive momentum going for this program.
Good vibes.
It is pretty exciting.
It is. Good vibes for sure, both coming into the season, like you're saying, and along the recruiting trail. Definitely want to look forward to the future. Like you said, some big events coming up, but also want to look back for a second. LSU yesterday signed its 4th offensive lineman. I know you were tweeting about the difference in the numbers at that position the last couple of years. So after getting the commitments from the 2 players that they did yesterday, how would you describe the work LSU is doing on the recruiting trail, specifically when it comes to offensive line?
Yeah, so if you watch my show, I'm big on class composition. Yes, you want to have your class rated highly in the rankings. Yes, typically stars do matter. You look at the guys who are 5-star, they're much more likely to get drafted. You want to bring all those guys in. But you ultimately have to bring in personnel to fit the needs of your team. And one of the things that was driving me nuts on the previous regime is you weren't bringing in nearly enough offensive linemen. You signed 5 guys in the final 2 seasons of the Ogeron signing classes. That's not enough for the offensive line. Your recruiting class should roughly reflect a football team, right? You should be able to come very close. You get 25 guys to sign. Now you get as many as you want, and we're going to see bigger classes, and that's, of course, because of the transfer portal. More guys out. You got to bring more guys in now. But you don't want a team that a class where if you were to field a team, you've got glaring holes, like 3 offensive lineman spots that are unfilled. You really want 4 as the minimum. And this is the 3rd straight year under Brian Kelly where you're bringing in 4 offensive linemen. In the last couple of years, you've actually added a couple transfer portal guys like Mason Lunsford, Miles Frazier, to really, beef up those numbers. So really good job building the class, filling needs and stuff like that. Now, all this class needs is to add a couple stars at the top, because I believe your highest rated player is the 73rd in the country right now. And it's been a long time since that was your highest rated prospect for LSU. So keep an eye on guys like Dominic McKinley at Acadiana High School, number 1 player in the state. Keep an eye on Colin Simmons. Keep an eye on big name guys like that, because if you add a few stars to this class, it will rate very highly. That being said, you've done a very good job locking down the state. I believe you have 14 players committed in state, including 8 of the top 10, and a good chance to sign the other 2 guys who are still on the board. And I don't remember the last time they locked down 10 out of 10. Maybe that 2001 class, but it's been a very long time since we've seen the state locked down like this.
Man, got to go back to the days of Nick Saban. That's pretty crucial. Preston Guy is our guest, staff writer for TigerBait.com. We're talking LSU football and recruiting. Want to dive into one of the names that you just said there, and that's Colin Simmons. He's a defensive end, and I like the hashtag out on Twitter right now. It's hashtag Colin Baton Rouge, as in COLIN, his name.
Yeah.
You're seeing a lot of former, current, future LSU players using that hashtag. What's good with Colin Simmons, and why does LSU want him so badly?
Well, first off, he's one of the best players in the country. I don't know why you want him. It doesn't take long to figure that out. He's an incredible athlete out of Duncanville, Texas. So he would be the crown jewel of your class right now if you brought him in. Colin Baton Rouge, first off, of all the they come up with little hashtags for recruit when they really want to push them, and then the core of guys on the team and recruits all push them to come. Colin Baton Rouge might be the best one. What I thought was really clever, the official LSU football account put out that the Colin Baton Rouge video, not Colin with the hashtag, but just the song from when he came to Tiger Stadium and sung. I thought that was clever, good timing from LSU football to push him there. He took a lot of photos in that LSU uniform. I don't remember, last time I saw that many different photos and that many different guys tweeting out different photos of him. But it seems like they did a really good job with him. The vibe on him has been throughout this recruiting class over the last 6 months. A lot of these guys that we talked to in Texas, Oklahoma type stuff, they've been pretty convinced that Texas has the inside track on him. But then there's a saying in recruiting: don't listen to what they say, listen to what they're doing. He just keeps on coming back to LSU. He's been on campus twice, and he has an official visit scheduled for November. I feel pretty good about LSU's chances. Of course, Texas is recruiting very well. This is going to be an LSU-Texas battle, but I actually feel pretty good about where LSU stands. If I had to put my money on a team, I'd say LSU does land him.
All right. We like to hear it. They're definitely doing the work on social media to land him, so we'll see what happens with old Colin there. Preston, I know you cover recruiting. LSU has a lot more depth on their team this year compared to last season, so maybe some freshmen won't get a chance this year, but you cover recruiting, and I wanted to ask you about some potential first-year guys, some impact freshmen for LSU in 2023. If there are any, who do you think they might be?
Okay, so on special teams, I'm hoping that Aaron Anderson is going to be healthy enough to come in and return kicks immediately, because that's going to be, a major beef for this team, an improvement for this team, I should say. If you can get him returning kicks, that'd be a huge deal. Deshaun Womack was a very highly recruited defensive lineman. And LSU's replacing a lot in that front seven. It'd be interesting to see, does he crack the lineup, or are all those transfer guys like Obi Agofu, are they going to hold down all those spots? It'd be interesting. The 2 running backs, that running back position, they've done a lot to beef it up this year, and they brought a lot of guys back. Last year, I told everybody, this is a bit of a Frankenstein roster. It was something that Brian Kelly, got 39 scholarship players from the bowl game and came in, and he really had to, build it all together with paper clips and bubble gum. Well, part of that was running back, because you only had 4 scholarship backs last year. And the guy who ended up being on top, Josh Williams, was a former walk-on. Now, he has outplayed I mean, he's got one of the best stories on the team. He's played incredibly well. But that being said, Brian Kelly always uses 4 running backs. You can go back 10 years at Notre Dame, and you've got, 4 or more guys with 40-plus carries. So one injury, one issue at all, and you don't have enough players to run the system the way he wants to. And we did see that at times last year, particularly the UAB game where you were basically down to one running back after John Emery put himself in the doghouse with 2 fumbles.
Speaking of, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. So I'm looking really hard at Trey Hawley and Caleb Jackson to see if they can make an early impact on this team, because they clearly have the talent to do so, and that's a position where you're going to be rotating enough guys to do it.
Speaking of John Emery, you mentioned him there for a moment. We got a vague update at SEC Media Days when Brian Kelly said he was in the process of being cleared. We don't know what's going to happen there, but if John Emery does indeed get cleared, what do you think his role in this team could be? I know he hasn't really been consistent in his last 4 years, both on and off the field, but he did have some good moments last year. The touchdown against Auburn, the cutback for a score against Alabama, like he did contribute. If he clears himself academically, do you think he contributes some more this season?
So the downside with John Emery, his entire career, and this dates back to high school. We actually, Mike Scarborough, our site owner, went out to film him in high school, and he had a game with 4 fumbles. It's about, he is a very talented runner, and he can make some big plays for you. Does he do that often enough to offset the risk of putting the ball on the turf, which he does? We saw him do it twice against UAB, and it was a predictable thing. I remember thinking in the pregame, like, it's a rainy, nasty day. Does John Emery fumble today? And we all looked at each other like, yeah, he'll probably fumble today. And he did twice. So the problem with John Emery is, both on and off the field, is he hasn't been reliable enough. Can he be sure-handed? Can he get eligible? If he takes care of those things, he is a very talented back. You see why he's a 5-star player. Like the measurables, the talent, it's all there. He just has to work on being reliable. If he were to be reliable both on and off the field, not fumbling, not having academic issues, he very well could be the best back on the team. It'd be close between him and Logan Diggs to see who would be the best back on the team. And of course, Josh Williams is right up there with them. And Josh Williams brings an element of, he's such a great blocker and plays with so much tenacity. That would be a really nasty rotation of 3 guys.
Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, giving us some insight going into the season. Preston, once again, appreciate the time, appreciate the insight. Hope to do this again soon, my friend.
All right. Thank you, Mario. Hope to talk to you again soon.
Yes, sir. Preston Guy, covering LSU football and recruiting for Tiger Bait. We appreciate a few minutes from him. We'll come back, wrap up hour number 1. This is Off the Bench, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob.
Go to All-Star Toyota of Baton Rouge.com, All-Star Toyota of Baton Rouge.com. Man, rare is the show that we get this deep in it without talking about our friends over there at All-Star Toyota. We're right there off of Airline Highway. You can find your next Toyota at All-Star. And, of course, when you're talking about a Toyota, you're talking about vehicles that stand the test of time in a big way. They'll last forever. So it's an investment, right? And so let's say you want to buy either new or a Toyota certified used vehicle. When you buy a Toyota from All-Star, not only are you going to get the excellent customer service, you get access to the incredible service department where they actually drop you off at home when they're working on the car. They text you throughout. They don't move ahead without your approval. They pick you back up. So you get all the advantages of buying from All-Star, but then also because it's Toyota, this thing's going to last. Eventually, you ain't going to be paying that car note, and you're going to be chilling, okay? Because you still got hundreds of thousands of miles left on that thing. So what are you waiting for? Get your next Toyota, All-Star Toyota, right there off of Airline Highway, All-Star Toyota, BatonRouge.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walk.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCoRoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come on, in Baton Rouge. I'm ready what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch on Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's government taco, voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR. The Outland and Nagurski watch lists are out. We'll talk about the LSU players on the list and a Saints camp report from NOLA. Join us for Tuesday's AFR, 3 to 6, 1045 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria, and 1130 The Tiger.
Wrapping up hour number 1 here on Off the Bench. Shout out to Preston Guy of Tiger Bait for coming on the last segment, giving us some good insight. A lot of excitement around this LSU football team. Not just the team going into 2023, but on the recruiting trail as well. The numbers Preston was going over were very interesting. Definitely doesn't lie. The depth, at least along the offensive line, should be a lot better for LSU in the coming years. If you missed that interview, you can check it out on demand. You can also just rewind on YouTube here. Shout out to Preston. We're going to talk to Nick a little bit earlier today. Nick Underhill is at practice. He needs to wrap up our interview before practice, so he will join the show at 8:15. Looking forward to that conversation. While we have a couple minutes here, did want to mention a shakeup for ESPN to their NBA broadcast booth. You guys know I love NBA. I love basketball. I certainly love broadcasting. So this is an important story for me. I know guys like Taylor are casual kind of NBA fans, and they're going to, at the very least, watch the big games and watch the NBA Finals, which ESPN has the rights to. So looks like both Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson are out at ESPN. They won't call games any longer on the network. ESPN will now hire Doc Rivers as they lay off Mark Jackson, and they will promote Doris Burke to replace Van Gundy. I honestly think on the surface it's an upgrade. I didn't like that crew very much. I love Mike Green. I think he's one of the best play-by-play guys. And Mark is funny at times, but Van Gundy was always complaining. He was always just talking about what was wrong with the game. I'm glad he's gone. I think a broadcast booth with Jackson and Burke could have been decent, but they wouldn't have had the same chemistry he had with Van Gundy. It's a little weird. It's not going to be as like funny, I guess. Like you won't have some of the memes on Twitter and Van Gundy saying questionable things about his family anymore, but you might actually learn something about basketball. And maybe that's not as attractive to some people, but I do think this is an upgrade to the broadcast booth.
I originally did, but I actually don't. I don't like this move only because I think that Mark Jackson and Van Gundy are better analysts than Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers has been in the game for a long time, but we've seen him in that role in the past, and he was okay, but I really liked what Mark Jackson brought to the table.
He was funny. He definitely had some zingers for sure. I liked him. I didn't really like Van Gundy very much. Like he had some value as an analyst, obviously as a former coach, but I feel like that's pretty easy to find. You can find a lot of people that are affiliated with the game or with coaching. I just didn't like how he was always complaining. We need to change this rule. We need to do that. Why are the players so soft? Like it was just constant complaining. And you didn't learn very much about the game. Like sometimes he felt like breaking stuff down, he would, but that wasn't very often. So I think the chemistry might have to come along. It might be a little awkward with Mike and now Doc Rivers and Doris Burke, but to me, they're infinitely more knowledgeable and they're just not going to complain as much. So I am with the change for ESPN. That'll do it for hour number 1 here on Off the Bench. Like we said, we'll move up Nick Underhill to 8:15, talk some Saints. We'll kick off the hour with some Saints news from training camp. Unfortunately, another injury for the Saints and another injury along the offensive line. We'll tell you about that, what the ramifications might be for New Orleans, and we'll talk to Nick Underhill at 8:15. Don't miss it. Hour number 2 of Off the Bench coming your way. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob.
Accutemp Baton Rouge, AccuTempBR.com. AccuTempBR.com. AC, heat, and electrical needs. You want to go to Accutemp. Greg says, how is Frozen S tier? Wake up, okay? Freeze your house out. You won't even need any magical powers like Elsa. You just call up Accutemp Baton Rouge, and they make sure that you can take control of your comfort zone. Your AC's running. Ask about the Star Club membership where you just pay a flat rate for the year, and they just like come out and stay on top of the situation for you so you avoid any catastrophic issues down the road. Go look at the online reviews. Thousands of reviews, and they have a 4.9 Google review rating, okay, out of 5. You only end up there if your customers are consistently satisfied. Their core ethos, service to the highest degree, is not lip service. They walk that walk. Put it to the test, and then tell me I'm an idiot if it doesn't work out, but I'm not worried about that because it will. They're the best. Accutemp Baton Rouge, AccuTempBR.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time to slip away. Some kind of hold on me, like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Let we go!
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Jacob Hester and T-Bob Hebert.
Yeah!
Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob.
Hey, P, they said I gotta come off the bench.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob. Yo, yo, yo.
What's up, people? This is hour number 2 of Off the Bench here on a Tuesday. Mario Jerez filling in for T-Bob and Hester. Casey Gaines on the audio board. Taylor Sharp getting us on YouTube. Had a very fun first hour. Shout out to Preston Guy of TigerBait.com for coming on, giving us a few minutes, giving us some insight around LSU football. Shout out to everybody in the Bayou Ford chat as well. Got some really good interaction. We were really heavy on the LSU football talk there in the first hour. Appreciate all of you for being here with us this morning. We'll be a little more NFL heavy this hour. Nick Underhill will join us at around 8:15 in about 14 minutes. He needs to come on a little early because the Saints are practicing today, and that's where we'll start this segment and start this hour. It is day 2 for the Black and Gold in training camp with pads, and unfortunately, more injury news to report from yesterday. And we were talking about LSU along the offensive line, how things are looking so good there. You know, new recruits coming in. They're healthy, at least at the moment. Can't say the same about the New Orleans Saints. Andres Pete left practice yesterday with an injury, did not return. The good news was Dennis Allen said he believes Pete's injury is not as severe as Trey Turner's was. The Saints lost Trey Turner to injury as well last week. He tore a tendon, and he will be out for the season. Pete, we don't know exactly how much time he'll miss, but this is somebody who, unfortunately, has missed a lot of time throughout a Saints career, and somebody, especially after the injury to Turner, that the Saints are going to count on heavily again this season. And if you look at Pete's history of injuries, he's missed 35 games in his 8-year career, and he's never once played every single game in a season. Whether it was 16 games, the last few years it's been 17 games. We've never seen a full season from Andres Pete. And we don't know the severity of this just yet. Doesn't look like it's something that is season ending, but you hope he doesn't miss a lot of time. And we were kind of chuckling about it with Taylor coming in, honestly. It's almost comically bad, the injury fortune for the Saints, and especially with this player. Hopefully it's not serious, man, but you don't like to see injuries, especially to a guy like Andres Pete, that you almost kind of expect it coming into the season.
No, you do expect it. I was telling you before the show, I was like, Mario, I don't want to sound ugly or like that I was happy or anything, but I was like, I almost chuckled when I saw this because I was like, what is new with the Saints and Andres Pete? I mean, this seems to happen every offseason. You bring in a guy like a Trey Turner as well, you know, to have that depth piece, maybe even compete for his starting job. He goes down. Now Pete once again goes down. It's like you went from bringing in Trey Turner and having a decent amount of depth there to now kind of having a depth problem and not having any idea who's going to be your guard other than Cesar Ruiz.
And look, the comments in the chat are fair. You know, he's always hurt. And the criticism there is warranted. The numbers do not lie. He's missed a lot of time. But to be honest with y'all, I do think Pete kind of gets a bad rap. Like, he has some bad plays for sure, but he's been on the team all this time. Like, he's a somewhat consistent offensive lineman, especially in the screen game. The Saints, we talked about it yesterday, Taylor. They haven't been as good in that department the last 2 years without Drew Brees. But over the years, a lot of screen passes, successful screen passes, you see big number 75 leading the way with the block. And he definitely has some bad plays, and he definitely has trouble staying on the field, but I do think he has somewhat of a bad rap. He gets somewhat of a bad rap, and hopefully he is back on the field sooner rather than later. But that's a group that needs to perform a little bit better this season. I think the pass pro was okay last year. Derek Carr is going to get rid of the ball a lot quicker than Andy Dalton did last season, so they're okay there, but the run blocking definitely needs to be a lot better this year. Like we said on the show yesterday, the Saints were 19th in rushing yards per game last year. The year before that, they were 15th. So need to be closer to the top 10, in my opinion, if you're going to have a successful offense. And Pete, for what it's worth, coming into the year, at least the first grouping of the offensive linemen during the first day of training camp, he technically was not a starter. We went over the first team on the first day of camp for the Saints, and maybe this has changed a little bit since then. You know, guys are going to rotate, but the offensive line grouping on the first day of camp, the first team was Penning, Hurst, McCoy, Ruiz, and Ramchick from left to right. Then when Ruiz and Penning left, it was Hurst, Pete, McCoy, Throckmorton, Turner, and Ramchick. So this is somebody who maybe was going to be a starter, even if not, was going to be an important depth piece, and somebody who's been on the team for a long time. So injuries definitely do not help, and this is a group that hasn't been awful the last 2 years, but definitely needs to be better in 2023.
Yeah, they do. And, you know, it's surprising what you just listed as what the opening day roster was across the offensive line, what it is now. I mean, think about it. You basically now have two possible options. You got Penning, Hurst, McCoy, Ruiz, Ramchick, or Hurst, Ruiz, McCoy, Throckmorton, Ramchick. I mean, that's it. Those are your only two options. One of those guys go down. You basically have 6 guys to fill 5 spots, at least guys you're comfortable with right now. You have one more injury, you got a starting 5 and nothing else behind it. So while you're saying, well, you know, it's not a disaster right now, you are one injury away from having a serious problem across the offensive line.
Yeah, especially if it's to one of the tackles, man. Like everybody's kind of holding their breath with Trevor Penning. You know, it's natural. He got hurt very early on in the preseason. He finally comes back towards the end, which I liked. You know, he's a rookie. Yes, you're risking injury, but you need the reps at a very important position. I like that he came back, but unfortunately suffered the plantar fasciitis and missed the rest of the season. So hopefully he's able to stay healthy, because Taylor's right, man. You're one injury away from being in a really tricky situation. But bad news for the Saints on the injury front with Andres Pete going down yesterday. We'll see if Nick has an update for us in the next segment, but not good news, especially after the Saints already lost Trey Turner, and they lost him for the entire season. Someone that's likely to miss some of the season, but not all of it, is one Alvin Kamara. And he was talking to media yesterday, and he was talking about how he wants to meet with NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell regarding his potential suspension. Now, as far as I can understand, nothing formal is set up. You know, they don't have a day that they're going to meet just yet. But Kamara had a discussion with Saints GM Mickey Loomis, and they came out of that meeting wanting Kamara to meet with the commissioner. And we don't know exactly what will come out of that. I do agree with Alvin that they kind of deserve a resolution by now. We remember that in the beginning of the month, he reached a plea agreement, and he's no longer facing a felony charge for his role in that fight in Las Vegas during the Pro Bowl. And that is significant. You know, not a felony definitely does hold some weight, you know, but at the same time, it's still at the NFL's discretion here. And at the end of the day, they're still judge, jury, and executioner when it comes to the length of Alvin's suspension. So he wants to tell his side of the story. He wants to move forward. I'm okay with that. I honestly don't know if Goodell will grant this meeting. And if he does, I don't know how much good is exactly going to come out of it. I was saying 6 games, just being really pessimistic when all this started, Taylor. Now I'm being a little bit more optimistic. If I had to guess today, which is what I'm doing, I'm just guessing, I would say they'll suspend Alvin for 4 games. But we'll see if he gets this meeting, and we'll see if any good comes out of it.
I agree with you. I think a 4-game suspension is likely. The only issue I have, Mario, I don't like this idea. I mean, what does he gain by meeting Roger Goodell? I get it. He wants closure. But the fact of the matter is, until you're suspended, you're not suspended. I understand you want a resolution, but if there's not a resolution, then you're not missing any games. You go about your business. You stay as far away from the situation as you possibly can. They're going to do what they want to do regardless. Meeting with Roger Goodell is not going to sway him one way or the other. What it is going to do is speed up the process and maybe have you suspended even quicker than you want to be. I would stay far away from it. That's just me outside looking in.
Isn't that a good thing, though? Get it out the way. At least know when he's going to be suspended. I mean, the team clearly has prepared for this with their acquisitions. You know, we talked yesterday about Miller and about Williams coming in. The quicker you know you're suspended, the better if you're Alvin Kamara. And for what it's worth, I do agree with you. I don't think any good will come out of it, but I do appreciate him being proactive. It would be great if the Saints players could just stay out of trouble during the offseason. You know, we went through this with Lattimore last year. Now we're going through it with Kamara. That's kind of the easy fix, but I do appreciate him being proactive, and maybe something good will come out of it. Who knows? Roger Goodell and the Saints don't really have the friendliest history between each other, so that's where the pessimism comes from. But certainly I appreciate Alvin being proactive, and hopefully he doesn't miss that much time. If he does, Kendre Miller is I'm sure almost happy about it because he is ready for the reps. He's said as much throughout the offseason, and we were talking a little bit about him yesterday. So the Kamara suspension I don't think will be fatal, but hopefully it's not too many games for Alvin there. The Saints did make an acquisition yesterday. They signed Kyle Phillips, who is formerly the New York Jets, played 29 games in 3 years for the Jets, recording 65 tackles, 2.5 sacks, and 1 pass broken up. And the Saints desperately needed help on the D-line, the entire offseason. We'll see how that group kind of looks. They brought in Brian Breesy, who we'll ask Nick about in the next segment, see how the rookies look in the training camp. You have some veteran guys, Malcolm Roach and others, but that is a position where you need to build depth. The Saints lost some key contributors there. When you talk about David Onyemata and Shai Tuttle, and those guys weren't as good last season, but they were kind of staples in the interior D-line for a while. So the Saints will need to find someone who replaces those guys. We'll see exactly where Kyle Phillips fits in, but for now, just depth at a position where the Saints really need it. So that's what's going on with the New Orleans Saints. Andres Pete leaves practice with an injury. Alvin Kamara trying to meet with the commissioner. We'll see where that goes. And New Orleans also signs defensive end Kyle Phillips. We'll talk more Saints coming up in the next segment. We'll break a little early here and get to Nick Underhill of New Orleans.football. He'll give us some boots on the ground reporting from training camp over there in Metairie. This is Off the Bench, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria, and 1130 The Tiger. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch on Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary. For those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Charles Hanniger, join us for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch. We're at Mike Anderson Seafood, Wesley at Nicholson. Andy Isco will be with us, plus another update from Saints Camp. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria, and 1130 The Tiger. Weekly New Orleans Saints updates with Nick Underhill on OTB are brought to you by former LSU Tiger and attorney Chris Perrette.
You heard the big voice guy. Time to talk Saints like we do every Tuesday morning with our guy Nick Underhill from New Orleans Football. We said in the last segment, man, you've kind of built a small army over there at NOF. Great coverage, very expansive coverage, not just from you, but Mike Triplett. Brooke has been an awesome addition. You guys are killing it, man. Congratulations.
Hey, thank you, man. We're doing the best we can, trying to create the best fan experience for Saints fans. And, I think so far so good. Just happy to have football back, though, be out in camp, have some real stuff to talk about. So it's been a good week.
Yes, sir, it has. And I'm a very happy subscriber to NOF. That being said, speaking of training camp, Nick, they are in pads this week. This will be the second day of padded practice. To you, who covers this in such extensive detail, what's the main difference between pads at training camp and just being in shells or underwear with helmets, as Dennis Allen called it?
Yeah, there's definitely a heightened level of competitiveness, and it just adds a little bit more credence to the things you're seeing too. If you think someone's playing well, it's just kind of like, well, I don't know if it's real. I don't know if I can really lean into this too much. And I think Kendre Miller is kind of a great example of that. Like, he was flashing a lot during the first few days of practice, but without contact, it's kind of tough to know. And still, even with pads and a little bit of contact, there's no tackling to the ground. So there's a little bit of giving up on some of these plays, but you see him running through contact now, and there's that burst and elusiveness, and it's translating to a heightened level of competition. So you feel a little bit more comfortable, like, hyping the guy up a little bit. And look, he's kind of been one of the stars of camp to me. And, it's the same thing wide receiver and cornerback as well. Like, you see the one-on-ones now, and there's a little bit of fighting through what contact, you can have at those positions, but there's a little bit more physicalness. And yesterday we saw a really, really standout play from Marshawn Lattimore. He was covering Mike Thomas, breaks down on a slant, and just he can play through it and break that pass up. And you just see a little bit more, clearly where he's at in his camp. And, I mean, if we're talking about stars of camp, Marshawn's been targeted 6 times in 5 practices, and Team Josie's only given up 1 catch. I think he's playing better than he ever has at this time of year, and that's been exciting to see too.
Yeah, I want to ask you about Lattimore since you mentioned it there. Some people are saying that it's maybe the best training camp he's ever had, and this is arguably already the best cornerback in Saints history. I tell people all the time, I think people kind of underestimate the effect of Lattimore missing 9 games last season. He came back towards the end. He had that pick 6 against the Eagles. I think you'll really see his impact during the field, on the field during the season. How would you describe, you did a little just there, but expanding, how would you describe the camp that he's had so far?
Yeah, if we're talking about people saying it's his best training camp, I'm definitely part of the people equation. I think it's unquestionably been his best start to camp. And, that's kind of an easy statement to make. I know this time of year, like, we're often hyping up everything and everybody's getting hyped over the top. But Lattimore used to, I think the way he practiced was poor, like, early in his career. And it's something he talked about himself. So I don't think I'm just throwing anything out there. Like, he used to talk about how he didn't like the practice. Like, he wasn't excited for it. He'd be like, training camp's long. There were times we'd be out there watching practice, and when Aaron Glenn was here, like, they'd kind of be going back and forth because, like, Glenn was trying to get him hyped up, and Lattimore just kind of, was doing his thing. And he could kind of just show up and play and succeed and practice the way he practiced and be one of the best corners in the league. But I think if he's gotten deeper into his career, the last 2 years, like, I think there's been a major change in the way he kind of approaches practice. There's an intensity to it. There's a something closer to game level from him. And I think we're definitely seeing that out here. Like, the competitiveness from him is top notch. And I think that's going to be a huge thing to help get Michael Thomas back to where he needs to be. Like, last year we went to Green Bay and Mike goes into those practices and you could just tell that maybe the competitiveness and just how hard they were going at him was a little bit different than he was seeing at the home practices. And there was an adjustment period to that. And he got there. And once he got into the season, I think he was fine, but there was still like kind of like a little bit of shaking off the rust. I think having that level of competition from Lattimore every single day is going to help him find and tap into that competitiveness that he's going to need play after play, day after day to succeed when the regular season starts. And it's just a great look for him. But Marshawn playing at that level, if he's doing that, he goes into the season, he's healthy, that makes everything better. Now, like, I think the questions we have about the pass rush get alleviated a little bit because he's going to buy them a little bit more time to get after the quarterbacks. I just think when he's top-notch playing at his best, it's a different defense. And I think we all see that. Like, if he's at that Mike Evans level every single week, like, they're going to be a much better team because of it.
Man, it's so entertaining when those two guys go up against each other, not just during the play, but post-snap as well. Love to hear the update on Lattimore. Nick Underhill is our guest, NewOrleans.football. We talk to him every Tuesday. Nick, what is the significance of the injury to Andres Pete, and what does that mean for Calaveri, the fourth-round draft pick that maybe wasn't going to play as much at first? Will he kind of be forced into action? What's the significance of this injury to Pete?
I don't think it's a major injury. DA called it a quad strain yesterday. I spoke to a source that isn't with the team, and they said the same thing, quad strain, not a major deal. So he might miss a little bit of time, but I don't think it's going to be like a huge lingering issue. It's interesting, though, because I think Pete was I think he is kind of fighting for his job right now. I think if there's a very, very serious competition between him and James Hurst for that guard position. And, I don't know that Pete has the standing that we're used to him having with the team. Like, he took a pay cut this offseason. I don't think he's guaranteed anything at this point. And if we're going to, run down a list of guys that can at least afford to be hurt in this time and kind of give way in a competition, I think he's kind of right at the top of that list. So I don't know if he's the penciled-in starter right now. I could see it definitely being somebody else, and I think that would be Hurst at the top of that. You mentioned Saldivari. I think this allows him to get some better looks, and as they're evaluating it, maybe he gets some more exposure, and they learn a little bit more about him, and it changes his standing on the depth chart. But there could be a domino effect here for sure. But I think this is a bad break for Pete, and I wouldn't be totally surprised if his trajectory changes a little bit if someone has the opportunity to kind of step up while he's out.
Interesting. Going to the other side of the football and talking about the D-line for a moment, Nick, tell me what you think about the rookies so far. Breesy has had some good moments, kind of hard to evaluate right now. I know maybe a little easier with pads, but it was interesting that you wrote that Foskey had some iffy moments during the team drills. Foskey is somebody I'm optimistic about. We've been talking about it on the show with Jake. Apparently his run defense isn't really up to speed for him to contribute that much as a rookie. But in my head, I see his stats at Notre Dame. I see his measurables, and I think he can contribute really fast. But apparently he maybe still has some work to do before we get to the season. Breesy has had some high and low moments reportedly. How would you describe how the rookie defensive linemen look at camp so far?
Yeah, I think Brazil's been a quicker study a little bit, and he flashes a little bit more. And I think Foskey's going to take maybe a little bit of time, like you said. And I think that's expected. Brazil, like if he hadn't had all this off-field stuff during his time at Clemson, I think that he gets drafted a lot higher. You know, his sister passed away. He had health issues, and it was just kind of like he never kind of was able to get his footing and just kind of take off and go and just have football be at the forefront. There was always kind of, you know, something else pulling away at that a little bit. And, you know, I don't think talent, ability, or anything like that was ever the question. It was just kind of, you know, can he clean this stuff? Well, not clean's the wrong word, but can this off-field stuff alleviate a little bit and allow him to shine? And I think that's probably going to happen in the NFL, and I think we've seen it, you know, right away, kind of that talent level. Foskey was someone at Notre Dame who succeeded a lot off of athleticism, and I think when you watch him, it's just kind of, you know, he needs to add some stuff to his repertoire, his rush plan. He's kind of become a little bit more of a polished, calculated pass rusher. And I think that's just going to be a little bit of a process. It's nothing I'm really concerned about, you know, right now. I think there's going to be ways for him to get on the field. And I think he's probably going to pick stuff up and get going. And I think, you know, yesterday's kind of day one of real pass rush stuff, real run defense stuff, where he can go out on the field. Oh, this didn't actually work against somebody, you know, that's allowed to actually put their hands on me and block me. How do I counter that? How do I adjust to that? So I think it was just day one of a process that's going to need to take its time. I'm high on him. I think he's eventually going to be a good player. You know, it's just we're 5 days into camp, so like every little snippet kind of becomes like a, you know, pulled out into a whole snapshot, but we really don't have all the pieces of the picture yet.
Fair enough. These reps are very important for the first-year players. They were for Chris Olave last season, and he turned it into a hell of a rookie year. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, Nick. We've talked so much about Mike Thomas, and rightfully so. If he's healthy for the Saints, he can make such a big difference, and he can make you, you know, go from a non-playoff team to a contending team that can maybe make some noise in the postseason. But I was really impressed with Chris Olave last year, man. 1,000 yards. He was only the third rookie in Saints history to put up 1K as a rookie, joining Marcus Colston and Michael Thomas. Flirted with breaking Michael Thomas's rookie receiving yards record, and that was in kind of a chaotic offense with some quarterback play that was subpar compared to what he's going to see this year, hopefully. So what did you like from Olave as a rookie? And in your opinion, what does he need to do to take that next step in his NFL career?
Yeah, I mean, I like pretty much everything about him. The rookie season, I mean, the route running was just unbelievable for a rookie player. And I mean, that's not going to get better. And I think he was already like at a top tier level with it. And, you know, the only thing that I think he really needed to do was get a little bit stronger, and you can look at him and see that he's added bulk, muscle, all that stuff. It's not like over the top. He's still a lean guy, but there's just muscle mass there that wasn't necessarily there last year. I think that's going to allow him to play through contact a little bit better, be a little bit better on contested catches. We've seen a little bit of that. You know, yesterday was day one in pads again, so that's a continued evaluation, but I think there is a noticeable difference with just kind of that play strength already. He has that to it. I mean, I think he has, you know, and I'm not saying he's going to be Stephon Diggs or anything like that, but I think he has Stephon Diggs type upside. I really think that's there, and I don't think it's an outlandish statement. Like he had the numbers last year. If he adds that last piece to it and he completes, you think about how many catches he had where he went to the ground last year and like he didn't hold on to the ball. If he completes those catches, I mean, the numbers go up, you know, significantly without even changing anything else. And I think he's going to become a better player. He's going to have a better quarterback. There's going to be a better supporting cast around him. You know, I think Mike's presence, assuming he's healthy, helps take off some of that coverage a little bit. You know, you kind of got to watch him underneath, and that's going to open stuff up over the top for Chris. I just think the opportunities are going to be significantly better. And, you know, like you said, the quarterbacks, Andy Dalton to Derek Carr is a significant upgrade. And you know, there's a lot that I think Carr still has to prove, particularly like under pressure and all that stuff. But in those clean moments, good pocket, like he throws a much better ball. Like the downfield stuff we're seeing in camp, it's different than what they had on the field last year with Dalton. And, you know, I just think that the opportunities there for him to be really, really good. I think if everything clicks for him, I mean, there's legitimate superstar potential with that player.
I agree with you. Just a couple more for you, Nick. We'll let you head off to practice. I was really happy for Zach Wood, man. I saw you report the new contract that he got. The longtime long snapper for the Saints gets $2.3 million guaranteed on a 4-year contract. And his story of coming here was kind of crazy. The Saints had signed a different player. They uncovered a heart condition for that player. They had to let him go. Then they brought in like 4 or 5 guys to try out pretty much. Zach Wood made the team. And you chart this kind of stuff. You would know maybe better than me, but I don't remember one single bad snap from Zach Woods since he's been the starting long snapper for the Saints. How would you describe his work so far, and how happy should Saints fans be that they locked up their long snapper?
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I mean, until maybe like last year with the missed field goals or whatever, their special teams are kind of like a model of consistency. The punting wasn't really great last year either, but that has nothing to do with the snapper. It's interesting though. Like Zach was talking this week, and he said that he was screwing up the snaps like his first couple of years in the league, and Lutz was just so consistent with his kicking that he was able to just continue to make his kicks, and it covered up a lot of the stuff with the operation. But I think that's getting into like the really granular details where they want the ball snapped like a very specific way. There's X amount of rotation, so it's caught and planted, and like, the details with that stuff is, we take it for granted, but I think it's probably, one of the harder things to do on a consistent basis. But, I agree. I never really even have had to think about Zach Wood, and that's the greatest compliment you can give, a long snapper. Like if you're just kind of not noticing him, he's really, really doing his job. But yeah, I can't remember one going over like the holder's head or there's maybe been a couple that are like low, but they're salvageable. I can't remember anything that ever stood out like negatively about that operation the last few years.
Great highlight package, too, from the social media team and Alex Restrepo.
Oh, yeah.
I enjoy the long snapping highlights. Nick, we'll get you out of here on this one. Talk to me about Jake Haener. People that are at training camp say that he's looked really good. Don't want to get too excited. Doubt he plays at all as a rookie, but apparently he's looked really good out there.
I think out of all the developmental guys that they've brought in here, and, you can run down the list, Garrett Grayson, Ian Book, there was another guy from Green Bay they had in here for a little bit that wasn't never amounted to any, Callahan, Taysom Hill even. I think if you just go down that list, like he looks a lot better than any of these other guys. Like I'm more excited about him than I have been about anyone through a week. Like when Grayson was here, it was kind of like, is he going to be able to make the team? Like those are the conversations we were having on the sideline. Haener's just like come in, been confident, commanded the offense. He doesn't look scattered. He doesn't look scared. He's making throws. He looks good going down the field. I have been incredibly impressed by him through the first week of camp.
Love to hear it. Nick Underhill giving us some perspective as he does every Tuesday regarding the New Orleans Saints. Nick, we appreciate the time as always. Enjoy practice, my friend.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming on. Nick Underhill, NewOrleans.football, giving us some good insight there. Jake Haener looking really good, man. He is not Drew Brees. Remember what Hanny said. He is not Drew Brees, but he's practicing really good so far for the New Orleans Saints. And who knows, maybe down the road he will get an opportunity. We'll take a break. We'll come back, talk a little bit more NFL. I suppose we can move OTB mailbag to the third hour, although we do have a lot of people in the chat right now. Maybe we should try and do it right now. Yeah, looks like people are asking to put questions. So let's try and do OTB mailbag next segment. If we have enough questions, we will do some mailbag. If not, we'll talk some more NFL and push it to the third hour. So that's how you plan a radio show on the fly, baby. Shout out to Nick Underhill coming on a little early so he could still make it to practice. We'll break. We'll come back. More Off the Bench, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob.
Go to All-Star Toyota of Baton Rouge.com, All-Star Toyota of Baton Rouge.com. Man, rare is the show that we get this deep in it without talking about our friends over there at All-Star Toyota. We're right there off of Airline Highway. You can find your next Toyota at All-Star. And, of course, when you're talking about a Toyota, you're talking about vehicles that stand the test of time in a big way. They'll last forever. So it's an investment, right? And so let's say you want to buy either new or Toyota certified used vehicle. When you buy a Toyota from All-Star, not only are you going to get the excellent customer service, you get access to the incredible service department where they actually drop you off at home when they're working on the car. They text you throughout. They don't move ahead without your approval. They pick you back up. So you get all the advantages of buying from All-Star, but then also because it's Toyota, this thing's going to last. Eventually, you ain't going to be paying that car note, and you're going to be chilling, okay? Because you still got hundreds of thousands of miles left on that thing. So what are you waiting for? Get your next Toyota, All-Star Toyota, right there off of Airline Highway, All-Star Toyota, BatonRouge.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCoRoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,500 off MSRP on all new 23 Ram 1500 Laramie trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
This summer, retirement is a state of mind. Whether it's a mid-morning activity or an early bird special. Grab a Coors Light and chill like you're retired. Are you with me?
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded.
Join me for a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Glenn West on the Tigers. They get ready to report for camp and Sharif Ishak from Saints camp. Hunt Palmer Show, 1 to 3 weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria, and 1130 The Tiger.
Shout out to Nick Underhill. Always enjoy the conversation with him. Getting pretty juiced up for the Saints this season, man. At least on paper, they are a lot better. I know some people have pause with Dennis Allen. Understandable, but just keep in mind that he was a great coach here, at least as a coordinator. It's not like he's a dummy and can't coach football. It's just a little harder being a head coach, and he definitely needs to improve on some things, but I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility. And the Saints definitely have a much improved roster this year compared to last year. We'll maybe talk a little bit more Saints in the next hour and in the next segment as we talk more NFL, but right now we have some questions in the Bayou Ford YouTube chat, so let's do a little OTB mailbag.
Special delivery! I have this special delivery for Off the Bench, and look, it is marked most urgent.
We'll be writing to you.
The internet. What the is the internet?
All right, hashtag OTB and mailbag. Quickly here, Taylor, because we have a lot of questions, but Daniel wants to know how your puppy pics went. You took formal pictures with your dog recently.
Oh, first off, it was semi-formal. I knew I was going to get this question. They went well. He was not exactly on his best behavior. The photographer did a good job. Don't have the pictures yet. I know you've been wanting me to send them to you so you guys can make fun of me even more.
You're going to.
Yeah, I do not have them yet. I don't know when they're coming in, but it went well for the most part.
Good. Yes, you're going to send them to me. I'm going to meme them. Dak Prescott will probably be involved somehow, so get ready for it. Like the questions involving the producers here. These guys hold it down. I'll tell y'all all the time. They do a great job. We have one for Casey. Hashtag OTB mailbag. What is Casey's favorite band?
Oh, that's tough. They listed Mastodon or Primus. Mastodon's a pretty solid choice, but there's a band, weird name, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, that I absolutely love. They're psych. They've done a bunch of different stuff. They've released like 5 albums in 1 year. So
King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Either them or maybe like Gojira.
Okay.
Metal band.
Okay.
Yeah.
Feel free to play that coming in the next segment, man. I'm curious. That's a hell of a name there. We do have a sports question here from Edward O, Nuss Bus Driver. I know what his answer might be, but what LSU player will have a breakout year that nobody is talking about? I see a lot of people stumping for Brian Thomas Jr. I'm big on Malik Neighbors. I love the work that he did last season. I think the offense will have a little bit more continuity this year. I think Neighbors is poised to have a big year, but I could definitely see Brian Thomas Jr. or maybe another pass catcher surprise some people.
This is a guy that definitely would be talked about if he didn't have a lingering injury in spring. I love Jaylen Brown. He might actually be the fastest player on the entire team, which is saying a lot. You have Chris Hilton, you have Aaron Anderson. He was the 5-star receiver coming out of Miami, Florida. I think that if one freshman breaks out this year, as far as a pass catcher, Jaylen Brown's a guy to keep an eye on.
Hashtag OTB mailbag. Let's see. We got a bunch here. I got to single one out. Hashtag OTB mailbag. Are you guys going to camp? Not going to be able to. We're going to be on the air, whether it's for LSU or for the Saints. So we won't be there, but that's why we call people that are going to be there to get that boots on the ground reporting. So sorry. I would like to go. It's really hot, but I would like to go out there. Not going to happen.
To answer Fonz's question, I do have a VCR somewhere that I could pull up if I needed it.
Okay. Rewind. Be kind. We all remember. Hashtag OTB mailbag from Emil. Are you prepared for a visit from other planetary beings? Okay. We talk about this a lot with T-Bob, and I kind of gave my piece the other day. Like, the reason why people don't react that much to, like, the congressional hearing and apparently, like, biological parts being found, like, tangible stuff, is because we kind of knew this was happening. Like, I don't think it's a very controversial opinion to say aliens are real. Like, there have been so many conspiracies. What happened at Roswell? Like, if you just use common sense, you would have to think there's some form of life that's not, earthbound. I don't think it's something that we're going to experience in our lifetime. I could be wrong. I think, we need to advance the technology a little bit more before we actually meet with these people, with these beings. So I think they're definitely out there, but I'm not prepared for a visit. I don't think that's going to happen in our lifetime.
I'm just going to call Will Smith. He's prepared me very well. Being in Men in Black and Independence Day, I think that's the perfect guy to hide behind in a situation like this. So I'm going to go out to Cali, find Will Smith, and we're going to kick it, and hopefully we'll take down the aliens.
All right. Just keep his wife's name out of your mouth. Hashtag OTB mailbag. Over under. Mario says shout out on the show today. Over under 50. I do like saying that. I do like shouting out guests and people that I'm happy with. But maybe something I should work on. Shout out to Survive623 for asking that question. Hashtag OTB mailbag. What's your favorite type of bread? Definitely white bread. I'm a fat boy. I know it's not healthy, but it's delicious. You will very rarely catch me eating wheat bread or anything else. I'm going white.
Oh, white bread all the way, man. It's fluffy, it's soft, it's everything you want in bread.
Yeah. Shout out to Bunny. We don't have a bread sponsor, so I guess we can say that. Hashtag OTB mailbag. Who's the biggest person that you've been around covering sports? Man, I stood next to Boban when he was on the Clippers.
Yeah.
The basketball player that's in the commercials. That dude is massive. Like, I was up to, like, his waist, it felt like. And I've been around a lot of athletes, a lot of, like, big football players, but I'll never forget just how towering Boban was.
Mason Smith came in studio about 2 weeks ago. He was very large. I looked at Mason Smith and I was like, technically me and him are both human. I was like, but you couldn't tell by looking at it. I mean, 6'7", like just freak of nature.
I said this in the chat, but I heard a commercial, like a spot that Mason Smith did, and he's low-key pretty good on the mic, man. Like, I've seen a lot of athletes and maybe some younger guys that don't really enunciate their speech, but he has a good voice, man. He's really good at football. He seems to have that figured out, but if he ever wants to try his hand in broadcasting, man, he has a pretty good voice. I like the pipes on Mason Smith. Hashtag OTB mailbag. What is one lie that everyone tells? Don't mean to sound greasy. I feel like I'm going in the T-Bob territory here, but honestly, the first thing that comes into mind is peeing in the pool. I think a lot of people lie and say that they don't pee in the pool, but they really do pee in the pool. I'm not saying that I do either one. I'm just saying I feel a lot of people lie about that. I feel like that's a pretty common lie.
That is a good one. I do like that one.
Hashtag OTB mailbag. Would you rather have a Bob's Burger or a Krabby Patty? Man, Krabby Patties have always looked delicious. And I know that Universal Studios is opening a SpongeBob-themed restaurant that is going to have a Krabby Patty, and I definitely want to try that. They also have like these candies, like these gummies that are Krabby Patty gummies. Those things are fire too, so I'm definitely going Krabby Patty. Were any of you guys big SpongeBob people?
I was a huge SpongeBob fan when I was a kid.
Nice. It survived with meme culture. They have a lot of good SpongeBob memes out there, so it stayed relevant throughout all these years. Let's see here. Burger King breakfast burritos, I think we're good. Hashtag OTB mailbag. This could be the last one, I suppose. Beach or mountains for a vacation or a second home? Ooh, that one's tough. I honestly don't have very much experience with mountains. Like, they have a lot of them in Guatemala, and the scenery over there is like really nice. I would love to make it out to like Colorado or something domestically, but I think I'm going beach, man. I'm not like Hanny. I don't hate the sand. I like being on the beach with the water. Maybe a little cool, not too much sun, but beach versus mountains, I'm probably going beach.
This one's very easy for me, and I'm going mountains all the way. To stick with Hanny's point, I do kind of not have a very friendly relationship with sand, but I love being in the mountains, man. You know, you got that cold mountain air on you. You're usually in like a toasty cabin. You stand out on the balcony. You got your coat on. You're just looking out at the scenery. Mountains for me all the way.
Man, that sounds nice. I really want to go to Colorado, man. See your boy Dion. We have some topics concerning him coming up a little bit later in the show, but I've heard so many good things about Denver and Boulder and the scenery there. I probably want to go there before I want to go to any beach. The question was a vacation home. I'm still going beach, but I want to make a mountain trip. Probably go to Colorado really soon. Shout out to everybody in the Bayou 4 chat for the questions. Had some really good ones. A lot of people seem to want me to do some kind of like burger review thing around Baton Rouge and New Orleans. That's something I'm definitely mulling in my head. Might have to formalize that a little bit and do some burger reviews. We'll see what happens there. But thank you to everybody for asking questions. Appreciate the interaction in the Bayou 4 chat. The viewership has been great. The interaction's been great the last couple of days. Please keep that up throughout the rest of this show and throughout tomorrow's show before T-Bob and Jake are back. All right, one more segment to go. In hour number 2, we'll come back. We'll wrap things up for the second hour and get ready for the 9 a.m. hour. This is Off the Bench on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob.
Go to centralplumbing.org, 925-8552, centralplumbing.org. When you overstink it, don't overthink it, okay? Just call Central Plumbing. Let's say you got like a problem with your pipes, a garbage disposal. You can actually, I've done some garbage disposal work for, not to brag. But maybe you just need like a new one, right? Whatever. You know what? Don't do it. It's just not worth your time or effort or money or anything, right? Just call Central Plumbing. Take advantage of the licensed bond-insured employees, the flat rate pricing, the excellent warranty coverage, the customer service that's there for you when you need them with 24/7 emergency service, weekend, weekday, holiday, and then just don't lift a finger and have it fixed. How about that? That's what you get when you work with Central Plumbing. 925-8552. And I don't talk about this a lot, but also if you've ever thought about wanting to be a plumber, right? It's an excellent place to work. Great pay, great benefits. Go explore it also by calling 925-8552, centralplumbing.org, centralplumbing.org.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin, plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep, and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good looking.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR. The Outland and Nagurski watch lists are out. We'll talk about the LSU players on the list and a Saints camp report from NOLA. Join us for Tuesday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria, and 1130 The Tiger.
Back to school season is here, and 104.5 ESPN and Citizens Bank and Trust want to help. It's our $1,000 Back to School Bucks giveaway. Head to 1045ESPN.com now to register to win. We'll also be awarding a $500 local cash prize. It's the $1,000 Back to School Bucks giveaway from Citizens Bank and Trust. All right, we got a few minutes left in the second hour here. I wanted to discuss a story I saw that I thought was really funny. So there's a golfer named Lee Hodges, and Lee Hodges had an awesome weekend. We should have included him as a weekend winner. He won a tournament. He won $1.4 million, and he earned his first invite to the Masters. Now, y'all know I'm not a big golf guy, but I saw this story, and I saw a push notification that a Minnesota newspaper sent out talking about Lee Hodges. And I'm asking the chat, y'all tell me what happened here. The push notification sent out by the Minnesota Star, which is the local newspaper there in Minneapolis, reads, quote, "Golfer no one has ever heard of blows out no-name competition at Minnesota's PGA Tour event." After that, they corrected it. They made it much more politically correct, Lee Hodges. I don't think Lee Hodges really cares what this newspaper has to say with their push notification. He's $1.4 million richer. He's headed to the Masters. But this is hilarious. What the hell is going on here? Was this somebody's last day at work? Was this a case of somebody playing like a joke? They wrote out the draft of the push notification, but they actually hit send? What the heck happened here?
No, so I love this, and no offense, Mario, you got it backwards. The first one, because it was sent 3 minutes ago,
oh, wow, you're right.
Lee Hodges. So, they had it right initially, and then they were like, screw that dude, golfer no one has ever heard, blows out no-name competition. So they actually switched it and made it worse, because the first one, as you could see, was 3 minutes ago, and then now this is the one that golfer has never heard of, blows out no-name competition. I don't know if someone had a personal vendetta against this guy.
Yeah.
I love the headline. I wish more people would do this.
That's what it has to be. I think this has to be some kind of case of sabotage, because that's a good call there. So the incorrect tweet was posted second. So I don't know what really happened there. It has to be somebody trying to get somebody in trouble. But the fact that people actually got that push notification, maybe even like Hodges' friends and family, is really funny. And honestly, without any disrespect to anybody, I know a lot of people here love golf, Musso and Hunt and others. I would never really sit down and watch golf. It's just not my cup of tea. I know some people feel that way, but to see it not even in like a tweet or a post or anything like that, like a push notification from a news entity, that's really funny. We definitely got to get Lee Hodges' reaction there. Have y'all ever either sat down and watched golf or went out to an event? Like the Sur Classic in New Orleans looks like a lot of fun. I would go to that, but I'm not a huge golf guy. Are y'all?
I'm not a huge golf guy either. If you saw me play, you would know exactly why. I've never been out to an event. Last full golf tournament I watched was the Masters that Tiger Woods won back in 2019, 2020 year. Watched a little bit of the Masters this year. I was just doing stuff around the house. Had it on in the background. Loved the music to it and everything. But no, never been a huge golf guy. I had it on in the background, but I don't follow it super close.
Yeah, me neither. But that was funny. Thought we should talk about it. Coming up in hour number 3, we'll talk a little bit of college football. Pac-12 coach taking a shot at a school that is leaving that conference. So much realignment. Kind of hard to keep up with these days. We'll also wrap up the show with a little bit of Ask the Bench, 9:45. Very similar segment as OTB Mailbag, but we got a lot of people in the chat right now. You could ask us maybe some more sportsy questions to wrap up the show. I'd appreciate that a lot, but we've certainly talked a lot of football today. Preston Guy in hour number 1 talking some LSU, not just the current team, but what LSU's doing on the recruiting trail as well. Very positive, especially along the offensive line and especially keeping in-state recruits. So definitely go check out that interview. Also taught Saints with Nick Underhill of New Orleans Football. Always a lot of fun talking to Nick. He always gives us some really good insight. The Saints suffering a few injuries along the offensive line, which we discussed in the first hour, but maybe it won't be that big of a deal. At least that's what Nick says. So go catch that interview on demand if you missed it here in the second hour. 1 hour to go. Coming your way. Off the bench, Mario Jerez, Casey Gaines, and Taylor Sharp. This is 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob.
I want to be rejuvenated. I want to feel so young. RejuveMeMedical.com. You want to feel younger, better, stronger? You want to feel like Mowgli swinging through the trees? Okay, well, RejuveMe can help you get that. And I don't care. Look, man, aging happens to us all differently. I was told in my 20s that I had the T of a 60-year-old man. And then I did HRT, and it was awesome. But the point is, go in there for your free consult, get your labs drawn, and see where your body can improve. And then let them do it. Put together a plan. Maybe it's HRT, maybe it's not. Maybe it's stabilization optimization. Maybe it's a Botox. Maybe it is something more cosmetic, right? Maybe it's something less. The bottom line is, if you just want to achieve your best quality of life, your best self, it's very fun, great environment, great atmosphere. RejuveMe Medical. They got Metairie, Slidell, Baton Rouge, now Shreveport as well. Restore me, refuel me, RejuveMe.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,500 off MSRP on all new 23 Ram 1500 Laramie trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Let me go!
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Jacob Hester and T-Bob Hebert.
Yeah!
Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob.
Hey, P, they said I gotta come off the bench.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob. Yo, yo, yo.
What's up, people? This is hour number 3 of Off the Bench. Mario Jerez here filling in for T-Bob and Hester. Hester will be back on Thursday. T-Bob will be back next week. Hope those guys are enjoying their time off. Casey Gaines is on the audio board. Taylor Sharp is getting us on YouTube. These guys are doing a great job making my job a whole lot easier. So are all of you in the Bayou Ford YouTube chat. Have had great interaction today. Really enjoyed OTB mailbag. See, we have some drummer discussion going on. That's interesting. But I do appreciate y'all and all the interaction, whether it be sports, drummers, whatever you guys are talking about. Always appreciate you being here. Also really enjoy talking to Nick Underhill and Preston Guy. Go catch those interviews on demand if you missed it. Talk some LSU football, talk some Saints. We're officially in the month of August, man. I forgot to acknowledge that in the beginning of the show, Taylor, but we are in August. We have NFL football this week in 48 hours. I know it's the Hall of Fame game, and I'm going to watch very little of it, but it's still football. It's here. We pretty much made it, man.
Dude, I'm way more excited about this than you are. Me and a buddy of mine, we meet up at Walk-Ons every Thursday night for Thursday Night Football during the season. I text him, we're on, so we're going to Walk-Ons this Thursday.
Really?
To watch the Hall of Fame game like the loser that I am. But yeah, I'm excited for some football, man. It's been way too long. Football season needs to be a lot longer, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I kind of like the shortness of it. I miss it like most of the year for sure, but kind of the scarcity of it makes it special, in my opinion. You know, football season doesn't last as long, so you better enjoy it while it's here. But I'm with you, man. I'm really excited. Definitely not going to have a 4-quarter breakdown of the Hall of Fame game. I don't even bet it anymore the way I did a couple of years ago. But hey, it's football with pads. Regular season is at least in sight, so we're really happy about it. And the college football season is around the corner as well. We talked about the Week 0 matchups yesterday and which might be intriguing, but it's technically still talking season. And you could tell from the trash talk that's still going on between some of these coaches. Now, Deion Sanders over at Colorado has been a big topic of discussion. We talked about it a little bit on this show. He's definitely rubbed some people the wrong way, including some coaches. And Dan Lanning was talking about Colorado leaving the Pac-12. I don't know if this is a shot at Deion. He hasn't even coached a game at Colorado yet, but he definitely took a shot at the Colorado program, at least the football program. He was asked earlier this week about the Buffaloes leaving the conference, and this is what he had to say.
Not a big reaction. I mean, I'm trying to remember what they won to affect this conference. I don't remember. Do you remember them winning anything? I don't remember them winning anything.
That's it. Thanks, Coach.
All right, appreciate it. Not a
Kind of mean from Dan Lane in there. We talked about Sean Payton making unnecessary comments earlier this week. I get he's not going after any individual, and I know that Colorado has been awful throughout their time in the conference, but I enjoyed this very much, and part of me can't help but wonder if this is kind of a shot at Deion. Although it's not a shot at his coaching, it's still a shot at his program, and he's rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, with the roster turnover, the way he's done things, his comments about taking his luggage, and all of it is Louis. Do you think this is a shot at Deion Sanders, Taylor, or do you think this is just a very random shot at the Colorado program?
No, I don't think it's a shot at Deion. He hasn't even coached there, but I get it. He's in the Pac-12. He's standing up for his conference. It was a little bit off-base. He's not actually wrong on his comments, but no, I don't think this is about Deion. I think this is more everybody's getting mad. Look, anybody who knows me, I am not a Deion Sanders fan.
Yeah, say it with your chest,
However,
man. Nobody's judging you. A lot of people.
He is a media darling, so everybody's going to get mad because Deion Sanders runs that program. This is not a big deal. We've seen coaches take shots at each other all the time. We saw Sean Payton do it the other day. Last year, Jimbo and Nick Saban went back and forth about whether or not Jimbo paid for his recruiting class or not, which is rich coming from Nick Saban.
I remember that.
No, I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's not even a shot at Deion, but it's just Deion is a charismatic person. He brings a lot of attention. There's a lot of attention around that program now, so everyone's all up in their feels about it. I think this is not a big deal at all.
So, as you know, I've always kind of really liked Deion. To me, growing up, he was kind of a television character on the NFL Network. He was an analyst, and maybe it wasn't, the most insightful as far as X's and O's, although I thought he did a decent job of breaking the game down. But he was very entertaining. He was a positive presence, and for what it's worth, I wasn't alive to see him play, but I heard stories. I do the play-by-play in Spanish for the Saints now. My uncle was the original Spanish voice of the Saints back in the 90s, and he tells me about how good Deion Sanders was, man. I know people talk about his tackling not really being up to speed compared to his coverage skills, but he was a very special player, and I enjoyed watching him. That being said, he definitely has been really abrasive, sometimes bordering on disrespectful with some of his comments. What he's done with the roster is interesting, I think. If it does work, which a lot of people seem to think it won't, it might be a model kind of going forward for coaches taking over at terrible programs, which is what Colorado is. Like you were saying, Taylor, Lanning, although he's being kind of mean in his comments, wasn't really lying. The Colorado football program has had just 2 winning seasons since becoming members of the Pac-12 back in 2011. That came in 2016 and 2020. They have a conference record of 27-76. So, yeah, they quite literally have not won anything. But I don't know, man. Part of me can't help but think is Lanning one of the coaches that's upset with Deion. We talked about what the Oklahoma coach said a couple of weeks ago and him taking a shot at Deion. Deion responded to that. I don't think he will respond to Lanning because he didn't really name him, but he's definitely rubbed some people in the college football and the coaching community the wrong way, Taylor. It's not just you.
No, he has, and it's not all his fault. Again, he requires a lot of media attention because of how charismatic he is. He's kind of a loudmouth. To his credit, it's gotten him where he is. I mean, that's what he was as a player, and he was a great player, and he's always going to be who he is. That's one thing I like about Deion. Like him or not, he's not going to change for anybody. He's Deion Sanders. Yeah. He's like, this is me, take it or leave it. The only issue I have, Mario, it's like, and look, I do not think I'm being unfair with this. Do we actually know if Deion Sanders is a good coach?
No, not at all.
And I'm not saying he's not, but do we actually know?
He's made quite the jump. He had some success in high school. He had some success in the SWAC, right, with Jacksonville State. His teams were undefeated. He was at least playing for the championship every time. But this is a significant jump, and we don't know. He's succeeded so far at lower levels of coaching, but now you're making the jump to Division I, man, and we'll see. I know the expectations aren't very high in year one. I think the administration is going to have some patience with him, but this is certainly a big risk. Colorado is a school that's willing to take that big risk. You just heard me read off their record there, and we'll see how it pays off for them. But the answer to your question is definitely no. We're about to see what Deion Sanders is made of as far as this level of coaching college football.
No, you're right. He did make a big jump. I know that. like a South Florida was interested in him, in my opinion, that would have been a more appropriate jump for him. Not only is he going to Division I, he's going to a Power 5 conference. I mean, say what you want about Pac-12. Right now, they're still a pretty solid conference. That's a big jump for anyone. And you're right. I think it's some of the comments. Look, I'm not trying to take a shot at Jackson State. They got a great program in the SWAC at their own right. But he comes in the first meeting. He says, I'm bringing my luggage with me, and it's a Louis Vuitton.
That was a little obnoxious.
Like, dude, you're bringing Jackson State players to a Division I Pac-12 program.
Well,
like,
it's
come on a
disrespectful.
second.
It's disrespectful to the players that got kicked out.
I get it, but he wasn't even bringing Louis Vuitton luggage with him. Like, you gotta understand the type of players he's bringing. I understand Travis Hunter is a great player. He's coming in, but again, do we know that those players can make the jump? I think they can, but this is just all speculation. And anytime there's a little bit of pushback on Deion, everybody's like, "Oh, well, you're just a hater. You don't like Deion." I'm like, no, that's not necessarily the case. I'm just one of those people that's always going to take a wait and see approach. I will never be the first one to jump on anyone's bandwagon unless I'm 100% certain that that person's going to pan out. I always like to do the wait and see approach. I'll wait and see. We'll give him 2 or 3 years and then pan out there. But I mean, I think it's the fact that he has all this hype around him and all that really is what rubs other coaches the wrong way. Maybe that, they're like, oh, he took this big jump really because of his name, not necessarily what he's accomplished in the coaching ranks. I mean, I don't care. I'm not a coach, but I guess I could see how if you're another coach, that would rub you the wrong way.
Yeah, and having his son at quarterback is definitely really interesting. I know they got the number 1 cornerback in the nation that they poached from Florida State, Deion's alma mater. So we'll see, man. They have a little bit of talent there at some important positions, but definitely quite the jump for Deion Sanders, like you said, Taylor. It's going to be interesting nonetheless. Expectations not really there. That's a very low win total, but he is going to have a lot to say, whether Colorado is good or whether Colorado is bad. So I am looking forward to that. I saw another college football related item on Twitter, and I thought it was pretty funny. This news comes from Pete Famel, who works for ESPN, and he tweeted it out yesterday. Northwestern has agreed in principle to hire Skip Holtz, former Louisiana Tech head coach, as the special assistant to the head coach for the 2023 season. Holtz's assignment is temporary. It won't interfere with his USFL job as his head coach of the Birmingham Stallions, who are the defending champions in USFL, by the way, in case you didn't know that. But the title is really funny. That's the main reason I'm bringing this up. This sounds like something out of The Office. And what exactly does this position entail is my question. Like, you're the special assistant to the interim head coach. You have head coaching experience, but at the end of the day, you don't really have any input as far as the final decision. This is more weird stuff happening in Northwestern during, I guess, a really weird situation.
For me, this is more of an optics thing, I would think, for Northwestern. The Holtz name is a very prestigious name across college football. He's a respected coach. His father was a very respected coach as well. They need an image shakeup, to say the least. I think this is one of those things where it's like you bring in a respectable guy, you show the public that you're trying to make the right moves, and then who knows, maybe it will lead to something. Just because it doesn't now doesn't mean it won't in the future. I mean, I like the move overall. I think Skip Holtz is a pretty good coach.
Yeah, people forget that game against Louisiana Tech in 2018. It was randomly a really tricky spot for LSU. Like, I remember broadcasting that game, and it was a 3-point game in the third quarter. Like, things got a little bit hairy there. It didn't really work out for Skip Holtz there. He's in the USFL, but at least you bring some experience. And during, like I said, a really kind of tough time for Northwestern. Going back to the Deion conversation for a second, Shubang, who's been awesome in the chat today with his interaction, says Deion is a guy who didn't earn his position by merit, so people are correct to be skeptical. That is fair, but at the same time, Colorado knows that, and if that is true, if he did get here not based on his merit, it's going to blow up in their face. If he's a bad coach and they fail, it's going to blow up in their face, and quite frankly, that's life. A lot of people get positions that they do not deserve, in my opinion, not just in football, but in life, and whether or not, they get the job isn't as important as them actually performing. Like, if you're at a high-pressure situation, if people are counting on you, if they're counting you big money, there comes a moment where you eventually need to perform. And I get it, Colorado's bad, they're desperate, but they hired Deion Sanders thinking he's a good football coach. So even if that is the case, if he is indeed not here off of his merit, it's still going to blow up in his face. And Deion, detractors, people that don't want him to succeed are going to enjoy watching that.
No, it goes back to my exact point. That's kind of what I was saying earlier, where a lot of coaches believe that he got the job because he's Deion Sanders, not necessarily what his coaching career looks like. And again, not really an issue for me. I don't care. I'm not a college football coach. But if you were a coach and you were one of those guys grinding and trying to rise through the ranks, then you could understand the frustration. I mean, I totally understand the frustration. I think it's warranted. That's not to say that Dion can't be a good coach. That's not to say that he's going to fail at Colorado. He very well may. But again, I'm taking the wait and see approach. But I could totally understand where some of the criticism from coaches come from when something like that happens.
That's fair. Before we wrap up the segment, one more college football topic that I saw. Ole Miss going through it on the recruiting trail a little bit. We talked about them losing Joseph Cryer, the O-lineman, to LSU after he got that scholarship offer from the Tigers. And their quarterback room, at least their future quarterback room, got a little thinner because four-star QB Demond Williams Jr., who was committed to play for Lane Kiffin, committed to Arizona yesterday morning. He's ranked 219th overall in the ESPN 300. He is a product of Arizona. Maybe it won't move the needle too much for the Wildcats, but it's an unfortunate situation for Ole Miss, if anything, just because they lost another recruit in less than 24 hours.
Yeah, it's bad. Demond Williams Jr., he's going to stay home, play for Arizona. That comes off the heels of, like you said, Joseph Cryer committing to LSU. Now, you may say, well, that's not a huge deal. Both of these guys got scholarship offers from their home state school. They wanted to stay home. It's a little bit bigger deal than you think. I mean, they're still not landing any big-time recruits, and look at what the rest of the SEC is doing. We know Kirby and Nick are going to continue that machine of 5 stars. Brian Kelly continues to land recruits. We just talked yesterday about Hugh Freeze landing all these big-time recruits out of nowhere. Like, if Kiffin's not careful, he could get passed up in this conference very quickly.
Yeah, we'll see, man. He seemed like he was kind of going through it a little bit at the media days. People made jokes about him being hungover. I don't think that's the case. He said recently that he was trying to be sober, not drink. But you can tell that, the stresses of the job are getting to Lane Kiffin a little bit. Great offensive coach, great play caller. But this new era of college football, combined with some of the disadvantages that Ole Miss has compared to the other SEC schools, has definitely made his life a lot harder. Part of me kind of feels for Lane Kiffin. That being said, what the heck's going on with the QB room over there, man? It seems to be, the consensus that Jackson Dart is going to start, but they have Walker Howard. They have Spencer Sanders as well, who, when I saw him at Oklahoma State, didn't perform very well. I know he was playing hurt towards the end of last season, but how do you think that QB room at Ole Miss is going to shake out? I would still say Dart is going to be the starter, but you have a lot of names, not Howard because he hasn't played, but got a lot of experience in that room. Yeah, it's weird.
When I looked at it and I saw Spencer Sanders was coming in, I was like, yeah, he didn't play well last year. He was injured. But if you go back to 2021, he made a lot of good plays out there at Oklahoma. I was like, okay, Dart was shaky last year. We all saw that. He didn't really live up to the hype of that 5-star recruit transfer from USC like we all thought he would. Maybe Kiffin wants to shake it up because you're bringing in a 5th-year senior that's a 1-year rental. Give Dart a little bit more time to adjust to the SEC, and then when they come out of spring, they're like, no, Jackson Dart's still the guy. So, I mean, respect to him for stepping up and really having maybe Spencer Sanders behind him, pushing him a little bit. But, it's kind of funny. You see Walker Howard, he's like, well, I don't want to be third string at LSU. I'm going to go to Ole Miss and become the third string quarterback there as well. So, yeah, a lot of big names in that Ole Miss room, but it kind of looks like the quarterback situation is going to be very similar to what it was last year.
Man, series of unfortunate events maybe for our guy Walker Howard there, but not an easy 24 hours for Ole Miss, at least on the recruiting trail, and some trash talk there from Dan Lanning. Like I said, the games are getting closer, but it's technically still talking season, so you might hear a few more sound bites like that before we get to the actual season. On the other side of this break, we will talk some NFL. We had some major injury news for the Denver Broncos. Injuries to their receivers compounding a little bit. We'll talk about that. Also, a former LSU player signs with the rival NFC South team. The Saints might see him in the future. We'll tell you who that is. We'll talk some NFL on the other side. This is Off the Bench on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
OTB, OT.
Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys, 225-888-8888. Hey, if you ain't got any haters, you ain't Gordon, okay? But guess what? There are some haters out there, which there are many, but there's much more lovers, including a lot of your favorite athletes, as they're members of the G Team. I'm always telling you about the Grubbin' with G series, which you can find on social media at Get Gordon, wherever whatever social media you're on. And it's where Gordon sits down with some of your favorite athletes. I love watching Angel Reese, Flau'jae, Mason Smith was not long ago. Just sat down with Harold Perkins the other day. Like I said, the only clip that I've seen out of it, I haven't watched the whole thing yet, was Perkins talking about how after freshman year in high school, he actually quit football for basketball. What could have been. Thankfully, he stayed with football. Thankfully, he found his way to the G team. And thankfully, we get to watch him for another fall. Hey, if you need help in the courtroom, get Gordon, get it done. 225-888-8888.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This summer, retirement is a state of mind. Whether it's a mid-morning activity or an early bird special, grab a Coors Light and chill like you're retired.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13.
Charles Hanniger joins us for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch. We're at Mike Anderson Seafood, Wesley at Nicholson. Andy Isco will be with us, plus another update from Saints Camp. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All-Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria, and 1130 The Tiger.
This is a Tuesday edition of Off the Bench. I've really enjoyed the show so far. Just a few more segments to go. Mario Jerez here filling in for T-Bob and Hester. Hester will be back later on this week. Both the guys will be back next week, just in time for football season. And speaking of, we talked a little bit of college football in the last segment. Thought we could discuss some NFL news and notes here in the 9:15 seg. And a former LSU player has found a new home, and we are talking about linebacker Deion Jones, a.k.a. Debo. He is signed with the Carolina Panthers, and that's after spending most of his career with the Falcons. He was a second-round pick in 2016. He contributed a lot as a rookie. I remember that season in particular The Falcons defeated the Saints in the Superdome in a Monday night game. He had a pick six against Drew Brees, and he ended up contributing a lot as a rookie. And he had some really good years throughout his career in Atlanta. He finished his rookie year winning AP Defensive Rookie of the Year, and he made his first Pro Bowl in 2017. I remember the 2017 season. The Saints were playing the Falcons in Atlanta, and they were driving down the field. They were inside the 20-yard line. Deion Jones made one of the best interceptions I've ever seen in an NFL game. He flies in the air. He high points the ball. Looked like he was literally flying, and he makes a game-sealing interception against Drew Brees. A season after, he got a pick six against him. So Debo had Drew Brees' number for a while. His stats kind of fell off when he got traded to Cleveland last season. Like I said, big impact as a rookie, and he had 100 tackles in, 5 of his first 6 career seasons in the NFL, if my math is correct. Yeah. And then he only had 44 tackles in Cleveland last season. Injuries, age definitely is a factor, but somebody who can help Carolina, at least provide depth, and somebody who I'll remember fondly as an LSU player. Unfortunately, he's staying in the division, but I don't think he's the same Deion Jones as a couple of years ago.
No, great signing for the Carolina Panthers. This is a roster that people look at and they say, man, in a few years, all these young guys, they're going to be one of the best rosters in the league. They didn't really have that veteran presence. Now you can get a guy, stick him right in the middle of that defense. I think it's a great signing. You remember in that Super Bowl game that the Falcons infamously choked in.
I remember.
I know you remember, Mario. He was great in that game. He was solid from start to finish. He really confused Tom Brady at the beginning of that game, which is kind of hard to do. He was one of the few bright spots on that defense in the second half of that game. Just been a super solid player his entire NFL career. I think he's going to be really, really good for the Panthers.
He was my classmate, too. I remember he graduated from Jesuit. I think I was a sophomore at LSU and he was a junior, something like that. And he was in my biology class. For what it's worth, Deion Jones was really good at school, if I remember correctly. Really smart guy. Glad to see his career continuing there in Carolina. Some injury news across the league yesterday. We talked about Jim Irsay and his comments yesterday. Some people would tell you the football gods are punishing Jim Irsay because we know Jonathan Taylor demanded that trade, and then the man taking his spot with the ones at Colts practice, Zach Moss, he got injured yesterday and he sustained a broken arm. He's going to miss roughly 4 to 6 weeks, so he should be back for game action later on in the season. But just kind of unfortunate for the Colts. They're going through everything they're going through with Jonathan Taylor. Now Zach Moss suffers this injury. The timeline isn't very big. He will be back eventually, sometime early in the regular season, but still a significant injury for the Colts, who already have a situation at running back.
No, very serious for them, because what happens if you don't get this Jonathan Taylor situation figured out pretty quickly? You got to remember, Nyheim Hines is a guy that has really been a crutch for the Colts over the years. He's no longer there. He was in Buffalo last year as part of that trade for Zach Moss. If Moss can't go and you don't have a Jonathan Taylor, what are you going to do? You're going to have to dip into the free agency market. Now, we talked about the running back free agency market yesterday. Some pretty impressive names out there, but is that something you really want to do as like a one-year rental? I think now they're going to have to pick up the pace and really figure out something with a guy like Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, that could be crucial, man. They need to make up with him, or they're going to be in bad shape at that position. Hopefully Zach Moss is okay. I feel like he's had some good games over the years. Whenever he has had to have more carries, he's kind of produced, but the depth definitely hurting there for the Indianapolis Colts. We had another injury for the Denver Broncos, and just like the Colts are going through it with their running backs, the Broncos kind of going through it with their wide receivers. Tim Patrick tore his ACL. That's somebody who had a really good season a couple years ago, led the team in touchdown receptions in 2021, but that was the last full season he played. Got to feel really bad for this guy. He tore his ACL last year, was not able to play, and this year looks like he will miss the season yet again. The Broncos, like I said, have had terrible luck at this position in particular. They have some talent over there at that position, Taylor, but crazy stat is that Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, and Tim Patrick have played just 2 games together over the last 3 seasons, and can't help but remember Sean Payton himself has had terrible injury luck when it comes to wide receivers. It looks like that is continuing in Denver for the former Saints head coach.
Yeah, Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, they're as talented as any receiver duo in the NFL when they're healthy. Neither of them can stay healthy. And this morning, news actually came out. KJ Hamler himself has actually had to step away from the game due to heart issues. There's no word if or when he'll return at all this season or ever. So, I mean, that receiver room really, really thin. The only experience you have right now is a Jerry Jeudy and a Cortland Sutton, and how healthy are those guys going to be?
Yeah, hate to see that for those guys, especially Tim Patrick. I think that's somebody who could be a really good player, but has just had terrible injury luck. So you hate to see it. I don't think there's any correlation at all, but Jim Irsay says mean things, bad injury luck. Sean Payton says mean things, bad injury luck. Bad news for both the Broncos.
Are you saying don't say mean things?
I'm not saying anything. You heard me preface that comment. I'm just saying that's a fact. Maybe the football gods are upset with those two gentlemen. Maybe I'm just being dumb. But either way, bad news for the Colts and the Denver Broncos. All right, we'll take a couple more breaks. See a lot of people in the chat talking Saints. We have some sound from Dennis Allen from training camp yesterday. We'll go over some of that. We'll talk a little bit of Saints. Then we'll wrap up the show with Ask the Bench. Stay with us. 2 more segments here on Off the Bench. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
OTB, OT.
Hey, ITI Technical College. I love ITI Technical College, and ITI Technical College loves you. I always talk about, right? If you want to change your life, you want a career, okay, not a job. You want to do well. ITI is the best return on investment you're going to get in the entire state, based on what you pay for school versus what you get in return. And Georgetown studies prove that. That's not me just pulling that out. But they've been doing this, y'all, for 50 years. And the best part is, if you go tour the campus, you go talk to them, you go to iticollege.edu, you go sign up, you see this, they care about their students. You got small classroom size. You got faculty members with multiple years of real-world experience. They have career consultants. They will schedule your classes for you. They will do mock job interviews for you. They will help set up internships with all the businesses that they have relationships for you. Like, all they want, if you come to them, they just want to help you be successful. And they've been at it for 5 decades. Follow them at ITI College.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come on, in Baton Rouge. I'm ready what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. that's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most...
Join me for a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Glenn West on the Tigers. They get ready to report for camp in Sharif Ishaq from Saints Camp. Hunt Palmer Show, 1 to 3 weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
OTB, OT, with Hester and T-Bob on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 94.7 ESPN Alexandria.
Pretty good first day in pads. Good chance to get up there and look at the tape, see what it actually looked like. But, I thought overall, the energy was pretty good. One injury of note, Andrews Pete with a quad. So take a look at that, see where he's at. But other than that, made it out pretty healthy.
That was head coach of the Saints, Dennis Allen, talking about practice. The Saints are in pads this week. We talked with Nick Underhill in the second hour. Had to move him up a little bit on the schedule. Catch that interview on demand and on YouTube if you missed it. But wanted to talk some more Saints right here. New Orleans, 12 days away from their first preseason game. It will be against the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending champs. We'll visit the Superdome to kick off the preseason. That game is on my birthday on August 13th. Last birthday of my 20 boys. A little bit anxious about that, but not anxious about the Saints season. Very excited for them to get started. And Dennis Allen is a big topic of discussion, fairly so. Has not been successful as a head coach. That's not an opinion. That is a fact. Whether it be with the Raiders, now with New Orleans, that record is really nasty. But I think the roster is much improved this season. Like we talked about a little bit with Nick, especially offensively. I think last season the offense didn't really have the leadership that it needed. Pete Carmichael did what he could. The jury maybe is still out on him. That could be your opinion. That's fine. But hopefully Dennis Allen can focus a little bit more on the defense this year. Hopefully Derek Carr, his experience, lets you focus on that side of the ball a little bit more. And Dennis is a good defensive coach. Maybe he's not a good head coach. You could tell me that. You could show me his record, and I won't say that you are wrong, but he is a good defensive coach. He's not a dummy when it comes to the sport of football, right? Remember how bad that Saints defense was in the years before Dennis Allen got here. Rob Ryan started really good, but by the end, you had some historically bad defenses, the way you had before Rob Ryan got here. So Dennis Allen fixed Sean Payton's defense. He's now taken over Sean Payton's team. I understand the pessimism for him coming into this season, but hopefully having Derek Carr, having a more experienced quarterback, Taylor, can help Dennis Allen out a little bit in his second season as Saints head coach.
Yeah, you would hope so, because we saw it when Peyton was running the show. He is a fantastic defensive coach. Maybe being a head coach, it's like, was it a little bit too much for him? Did he try to take on too much responsibility? What do the best head coaches do? They're able to delegate responsibilities. Hopefully he does that a little bit this year. He didn't have the trust in the QBs he had last year. Those weren't his guys. He brought in his guy this year. Pete Carmichael's second year as the full-time offensive coordinator, if you will, because, Peyton called half the plays anyway. So his second full year as the full-time offensive coordinator with a significant upgrade at quarterback. If he could just focus on defense, I like that a lot better for Dennis Allen.
And I think the presence of a healthy Marshawn Lattimore, as I knock on wood, will make a big difference. We talked about it with Nick in the segment there in the second hour. He said Marshawn Lattimore has been having the best training camp he's had as a New Orleans Saint. And like we said, he missed 9 games last season. Dennis Allen's looking forward to having Lat back this season. And Dennis Allen was talking about Lattimore yesterday and how he makes the whole defense around him better.
We put him in the most difficult situations that you can put a corner in. There's a lot of times that we put him on the opponent's best player, best receiver, and leave him on an island a little bit. I think he wins more of those matchups than he loses. So it's a great for a play caller. It's a great tool to have. Knowing that you can put him on their best receiver and be able to take him out of the game, and it allows you to do some other things defensively to help out in some other areas.
100%. And like I said, he missed 9 games last season. Nasty injury when Lockett from the Seahawks was going up for a catch, basically landed knee first on Marshawn's rib. That made him miss a lot of games. But his presence will definitely help, and the Saints are going to see some really good wide receivers throughout the season. he always plays really well against Mike Evans. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a matchup thing. We'll point out that Justin Jefferson got him last year. They played the Vikings in England. Jefferson had over 100 yards. He had a big catch before the Vikings kicked the game-winning field goal. And Lattimore will win most of those matchups. Dennis Allen is right. And he better, because the Saints are facing some really good wide receivers this year. But hopefully he stays healthy. And if he does, I think you will see the impact that having him on the field will have on this team.
Yeah, he's obviously a huge impact guy for this team. Look, don't worry about that. Justin Jefferson gets everybody in the NFL. That's why he's widely considered the best in the game. Look, I think what you pointed out was important, that if he could be consistent, because everyone is locked in on that cornerback battle opposite Marshall and Lattimore with Alontae Taylor and Paulson Adebo. You can't really go wrong with either of those guys. But if Marshall and Lattimore can lock down one side, you feel a lot better about throwing those guys in there, because Lattimore more than likely is going to lock down one side of the field.
I'm happy you brought up Adebo. I feel like he's kind of forgotten about. Like, had such a good rookie season. I remember his first game, the game that was supposed to be in New Orleans, ended up being in Jacksonville. He picks off Aaron Rodgers in his very first NFL game. And Alontae Taylor definitely came on last season. He will have a role, but Paulson Adebo was a really good cover corner in his rookie season. Last year had some injuries, definitely declined a little bit his level of play, but he's right there. Everybody's kind of assuming Taylor is going to be the starter there. I wouldn't be shocked if Adebo was able to beat him out. Either way, I think it's fair to say that cornerback is the Saints' strongest position in terms of depth. So hopefully Marshawn Lattimore can stay healthy and lead the way there. Do need to talk a little bit of Derek Carr. I see some of y'all having fun in the chat talking about this being the Carr show, but I do want to discuss Derek Carr a little bit, because we've been talking about the fact that he's never had a good defense statistically. Every single year he was with the Raiders, their defense finished 20th or worse when it comes to scoring defense. He will have a better group this year with the Saints, at least I think so, and maybe he won't need so many fourth quarter comebacks the way he needed in Oakland. Dennis Allen coached him for some of those fourth quarter comebacks, and he talked about Derek Carr late in games during yesterday's practice.
I think it starts here in his mind. Number one, he's got the confidence in his ability to come back. And I think, he's able to use his mind to put our offense, the offenses that he's been in charge of, in the best positions to be successful. And so I think that's probably, his greatest asset is his mind and the way that he processes information.
Yeah, this is a more experienced player for sure that you're bringing in. I mean, Andy Dalton had a lot of experience, but Derek Carr was at least a starter in his last spot. I'll tell this to T-Bob and Hester, and they correct me because they're like, oh, Derek Carr got benched last year. Stidham got the last 3 games. Well, I don't really count that. He still played most of the season. He still put up almost 4,000 yards. And it's the first time since Drew Brees retired that the Saints have a quarterback that was at least a starter in his last spot. Andy Dalton wasn't a starter in his last spot. Jameis Winston was not a starter when he was behind Drew Brees. At least Derek Carr started somewhere. He has a lot of team records. He's had a lot of success. Hopefully he doesn't need as many fourth quarter comebacks with the New Orleans Saints this year. Taylor said it a little bit throughout the offseason that it's a little reminiscent of Drew Brees coming here. Like, he was good in Oakland the same way Drew Brees was good with the Chargers, but not really great. People see his contract and what the Saints are paying him and think, oh, is that really worth it? But hopefully you do see the difference with Derek Carr, and you don't need as many fourth quarter comebacks from him, with this potentially being the best defense he's ever shared a team with.
Yeah, and it is a little reminiscent of Brees in the fact that they both kind of played for inept organizations. You just mentioned it. Imagine being a head coach and benching Derek Carr for Jarrett Stidham. I mean, that's still,
after all he's done for that franchise.
That's still just wild to me. And you're right, he's not going to have all these fourth quarter comebacks. I assume the Saints defense is going to be a little bit better than 20th in the league. At least I hope it is. But the good news is, if you need a fourth quarter comeback, you got a guy that you should be confident in, because he's shown that he can do it time and time again. I still am a big fan of Derek Carr, and I think this season he's going to surprise a lot of people.
Hopefully, man. Hopefully. I kind of share your optimism, because I remember those days, and this is just kind of my personal antidote. I was a young 12-year-old Mario, but I remember my flag football coach in the car telling me, hey, the Saints are going to sign Drew Brees. And I was like, oh, that's cool. He's okay. But I want Vince Young. I want Matt Leinart. I wanted one of the shiny new guys coming out of college. And those guys were beasts in college. But maybe this is the right choice. Maybe everything's falling into place, and Derek Carr will have a Drew Brees-like impact without the records, but with the team's success. This was not a good football team with the quarterback play they've had the last couple of years. Maybe Derek Carr, combined with that defense and those receivers, can make a big impact from the start. And maybe he could stick it to the Raiders a little bit for benching him in favor of Jarrett Stidham. So that's your Saints talk for the day. The Saints are in practice again today. We'll get an update tomorrow on what went down on the field. Hopefully no more injuries for the New Orleans Saints. Let's pray for some good health. All right, we'll come back. We'll wrap up the show. Got a little bit of time for some extended Ask the Bench. A lot of you are still hanging out in the Bayou Ford YouTube chat, so come back, ask us anything about sports, about life. We'll answer those questions for you. One more segment to go here on a Tuesday edition of Off the Bench, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
OTB, OT. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR. The Outland and Nagurski watch lists are out. We'll talk about the LSU players on the list and a Saints camp report from NOLA. Join us for Tuesday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
OTB, OT, with Hester and T-Bob on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 94.7 ESPN Alexandria.
Yeah. Well, they're like, Rich Rod and West Virginia, a game away from the natty.
It's true.
I can't believe it. Go to Patient Plus Urgent Care.
It all
Patient
worked
Plus,
out for you.
Yeah, right? PatientPlusUC.com, where you will see the difference. Quality care for life's unexpected moments. Also great commercials and great mascot with that little puppet. I love that little puppet. But look, it's not about games, okay? This is about your health. This is about getting in, getting better. This cold's going around, stomach bugs going around. If you and your family need the treatment you deserve, go to Patient Plus Urgent Care. You're going to see the difference. PatientPlusUC.com.
T-Bob's right. You will see the difference as soon as you walk into any of the facilities, right? It's not like they have just one main facility and the rest of them aren't up to par. I mean, they all are going to blow you away. So any that you walk into, remember there's one that's convenient for you in the Baton Rouge area. No matter where you're at, find the location that is nearest you. You can do that at PatientPlusUC.com. Get in and get better.
Shout out to T-Bob and Hester. I always so enjoy the pre-recorded live reads. That's by design, by the way. Kind of like those guys are still here, even though they are not. All right, we got a couple minutes left on a Tuesday edition of Off the Bench. Let's do a little bit of Ask the Bench to wrap up the show. And before we get to y'all's questions, T-Bob and Hester were having some fun there with the new SEC Shorts episode. Alabama was very close to hiring Rich Rodriguez instead of Nick Saban back in 2007. And if you're an LSU fan, you should know that in the 2007 season, LSU reached a national championship because Rich Rod's West Virginia Mountaineers got upset last game of the regular season against Pitt. Taylor, do you remember where you were during that game? I'll never forget being in an Applebee's, seeing Missouri lose, knowing LSU might still have a shot. Also, the Hornets beat the Mavericks in overtime that night, and it was the first time the Hornets had beaten the Mavericks since they moved to New Orleans, and this is in 2007. So that's 5 years of losing to the same team in the NBA. So case in point, that was a really good sports day for your boy. Do you remember where you were when West Virginia lost that game?
Yeah, I was. I was watching it on the TV on my couch. I was kind of doing like a little around the horn type thing where I had all the games on. I was switching back and forth. I was like, okay, who needs to lose? Who needs to win for this to happen for LSU? Because there was about 2 or 3 teams. So I'm following that. I'm like, okay, here's West Virginia. Let me go to Virginia Tech, Boston College. Let me go to this game. Let me go to this game. And yeah, everything fell perfectly. I mean, great day if you were a Tiger fan.
Man, we will never see a season like that ever again. The BCS, all the upsets, that was a crazy time. And that was a year that I will never forget. Hashtag Ask the Bench. I see a lot of Trent Dilfer talk for some reason. Somehow our Deion Sanders conversation generated a lot of dialogue around Trent Dilfer in the Bayou Ford YouTube chat. And that's the answer to this question, which is who is the worst Super Bowl winning QB ever, with a little winky emoji. I think they wanted me to go a certain direction there. But Trent Dilfer in the 2000 season, when the Ravens won the Super Bowl, finished the season with a completion percentage of 59%, 1,502 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions in the Super Bowl against the Giants, a game the Ravens won easily, 34-7. He was 12 of 25 passing, 153 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. Trent Dilfer, I kind of liked him on TV. He seemed a little abrasive, sometimes maybe a little mean. So no disrespect, but I think he is the worst quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'd go Dilfer as well. There was a question. It was similar, and it said, who would you rather have as your starting quarterback, Brad Johnson or Trent Dilfer? That's a close one for me, but I'd probably lean Brad Johnson. So, yeah, Dilfer probably still at the bottom of Super Bowl winning quarterbacks.
Brad Johnson is right there. Is Max still at Texas A&M? Did he go somewhere else?
As far as I know.
Okay, we'll see if he gets any playing time. But, yeah, his dad definitely in that conversation, too. Hashtag Ask the Bench. Does your girlfriend or family listen to the show when you host, or do you get the T-Bob treatment from his wife who never listens? Yes, Sarah, my girlfriend, listens regularly. She's probably listening right now. Always appreciate her. Taylor, I know your family listens. You always tell me. And Casey, I know your family listens to the show. So, yes, we're all well supported here. Hashtag Ask the Bench. If I don't go to Twin Peaks at 11, Will the world keep turning? Yes, I think the world will still keep turning. Shout out to Twin Peaks, Lodge mentality. Hashtag Ask the Bench, Saints record prediction. I'm optimistic, man. Y'all have seen that schedule. I think Derek Carr can really benefit from a change of scenery, and y'all don't have to take it seriously. You know, you can call me a homer, but Taylor, you could ask any of the OTB crew. Going into last season, I was very pessimistic, and I believe my final record prediction was something like 7-10. It was definitely a losing record, and that's what happened with the Saints. And I get the critiques around Dennis Allen, but this team is a lot better. The defense is there. Derek Carr is going to really benefit from a change of scenery. And if I had to give a record today, I would say the Saints are going to go 12-5 this year.
I'm not far behind you. I was going to go 11-6. So,
Okay.
I mean, I do. I think that they have all the pieces to be successful.
Record prediction for the Dallas Cowboys, who will be without Ronald Jones for the first 2 games of the regular season. PED suspension. Didn't really get to that in the docket, but big blow for your boys potentially there, Taylor. Well, what do you think their final record would be?
I don't know, man. I think I honestly, like, I'm not going to be like, oh, they're terrible. Like, you know, I always like to joke. But I am thinking something like 9-8. I don't think this team is as talented as it was last year, and they were right in that 10-7, 11-6 range last year. I think their division is a lot tougher than it was last year. The Eagles haven't went anywhere. The Giants are continuing to get better. What are the Redskins going to do now that Dan Snyder's not there? I think that's a pretty tough division. They got to play each of those teams twice. I think it's something like a 9-8, 10-7.
Man, off the top of my head, speaking of Washington, I saw a PFT commenter tweet out a stat that under Dan Snyder, the Washington football team, whatever you want to call them, they had as many rebrands in all those years as like the team name as they did all pro players in Dan Snyder's tenure. That is an awful stat, and that kind of goes to show you how bad the ownership was, man. They definitely made some really reckless decisions. They had to kind of act right as an organization going forward, maybe be patient, but it's definitely going to be a lot better over there in Washington, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens there. Hashtag Ask the Bench. Worth going to a Saints training camp practice with my son from Christian. Yes, 100%. I loved going to those as a kid. Just seeing the players up close is really cool. I encourage you to go look at Taysom Hill and see exactly how toned his muscles are. Like, I know you could see it on the screen, but seeing that man up close is kind of crazy. That's one of the swollest dudes I've ever seen for sure in my life. And another cool thing about training camp practices is they always sign autographs. There are some guys that won't sign jerseys because they can get resold, but usually all the players are really cool about signing autographs. So yes, Christian, it's going to be hot. You might sweat a little bit, but for you, for your young ones, it is definitely worth the experience, in my opinion. That'll do it for the show. Went by pretty quick. Really appreciate the producers, Taylor Sharp, Casey Gaines. They were a huge help. Made my job a lot easier. Shout out to Preston Guy from Tiger Bait and Nick Underhill of New Orleans Football as well. Join us tomorrow, 7 to 10 a.m., right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
OTB, OT.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.